Hello, folks. Giving you a salute. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I will be your host this evening, as I always am. My name's Chris, and we are going to talk about the comic book news of the week. We are going to talk about some actual comic books that came out this week, and we're even going to have a guest. I'm pretty excited about that. Tell you what, let me start things off. I'm just going to get myself set with a sip of coffee and give you this intro. Look at these salutes. These are great salutes. Folks, thank goodness I'm not a karate master, or I would have just taken my own head off. That would be a terrible way to start the show. I'll give a couple quick shout outs, but I'm going to get into something almost right off the bat. We're going to have we have a special guest tonight, folks. We have a special guest who has said that he's going to give away an original piece of art. We're going to do a live drawing in a little bit for all of you that are here. And that's kind of exciting. We're going to get to ask some questions. I'm just waiting on my guest to be 100% ready, but we're going to have Nick Barrucci, the president and founder of Dynamite Comics. Obviously, you guys are pretty aware, I think, if you're reading comics of Dynamite. I mean, with those numbers, for instance, on Thundercats, it's pretty hard for people to have ignored them. Tell you what, let me bring him in real quick.
Hey, Nick, man, how you doing, Chris? Hey, everybody.
Great. That's so nice of you, Nick. I appreciate. I was just seeing what that looked like. I'll put it back at this. This is better for us to see ourselves. I like your backdrop there. Where is this in your office that has the big Dynamite Entertainment mural?
This is the lobby. So
the lobby.
This is the lobby. So this is where you see the whole big Dynamite. This is where where the magic starts and where people just come in and. Beautiful logo, it's kind of cool, it's really cool.
It's incredibly cool. Like, am I right in I should have double checked this. This is not a good interviewer, but am I right in thinking that Dynamite is 20 years old like this year? That's the anniversary you guys are having?
In July.
That's amazing.
It is. It's really surreal. Not bad for a guy who never wanted to be a comic publisher.
What did you want to be then?
I enjoyed doing collectibles. I enjoyed Dynamite. Came out of Dynamic Forces,
right?
So Dynamic Forces, we started off. I'll go a little bit further back and try not to bore your people.
I think we're interested.
In like 91, 92, I was at a convention, and this is like. Rob Liefeld is exploding. Todd McFarlane's exploding. Jim Lee. And, these guys were creating this wonderful artwork and so much energy. And then you had Barry Windsor Smith. Thank you, guys. Project Superpowers. Awesome.
An early superhero book you guys did. But I didn't mean to interrupt, just sort of giving shout outs.
No, it's all good. Am I a fan of Dynamite Thor? Not so much.
No, that's a different Dynamite.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, because you're right. Like early 90s, comics were exploding. It's just extra interesting that you sort of started Dynamic Forces and weathered a time when the industry was kind of collapsing. You guys were coming into existence at a time when a lot of publishers and stuff were leaving.
It was a scary time. So I noticed that people were lining up like around like long lines of have a good night, Amy. Amy's leaving, so I had to say have a good night.
Thanks for arranging this, Amy.
There were long lines for Sam Keith. And I'm like, I bet you people would like some mail order comics, signed books. So the initial name of the company, you're going to love this, was National Comic Services. And the slogan was tomorrow's treasures today. So it was all autographed memorabilia. And I think basically when the death of Superman was happening and we got involved in signing those for QVC,
Yeah.
I just, I like the idea of National Comic Services, like let people think we're big, we're going to get there. I know we're going to get there. And I started realizing, man, that's a dumb name. That's a really dumb name. And I'm sitting there going, we need to be something more dynamic, something with a little bit of force. I was like, oh, dynamic forces, why not, right?
It's good.
So we started off with autographed memorabilia, trading cards. We did phone cards for a little bit, statues, action figures, lithographs.
Yeah.
And what happened was in 2003 going into 2004, we had a Marvel license for statues and lithographs and collector plates and a few other items. And Upper Deck came in and offered Marvel like 10 times what we could pay for the licenses. So we lost our licenses. So at that point, I had to make a decision, which was let go of 40 to 60% of my staff. Dynamite. Well, I'll tell you why we picked Dynamite. You're going to love this. So we'll get to that in a second, too. Or I can do the Hail Mary and do the one thing I never wanted to do, which is be a publisher. I'll tell you why I wanted to be a publisher. It's a lot of responsibility. When you're doing collectibles like trading cards, statues, lithographs, you can do them, you create a statue, it's a sculptor, a colorist, a photographer, and your project managers. When you're doing a lithograph, penciler, inker, colorist, or painter. Trading cards a little bit more involved, but you would be mixing in a lot of pickup art from iconic images to make with new images and then get the signatures. Publishing is a different beast. You have a responsibility to your employees. You have a responsibility to your freelancers. You have a responsibility to the audience. You have a responsibility to the retailers. So you need an editor for like every 6 books you put out.
Well,
and you need to put the books out on time, or as on time as you can, time as you can. So, and honestly, I had seen the road that was littered with publishers that screwed talent. I mean, even CrossGen that had like $35 million squandered it all. Eclipse.
Yeah, they weren't around for that long, all things considered.
I know, they were like around for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now Comics, Eclipse, I mean, First Comics, the list goes on and on.
Sure.
And I was worried that, I was worried that Dynamite maybe would last 3 years. The Dynamite. So because of 2 reasons, we didn't think retailers would support us under Dynamic Forces.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So you just had a new brand for the comics.
Yeah. I mean, we thought that retailers wouldn't support us because there were so many retailers that still had a bad taste in their mouth for signed books and variant covers. We thought if we do this under Dynamic Forces, this may look like a vanity project. We do still publish Red Sonja. Matter of fact, right now, Torrin's been writing Red Sonja, and she's been killing it.
Yeah, you guys are going to have a big year for Red Sonja with the movie coming out, I'm sure.
It's going to be fantastic. So
I just want to put one thing in there, Nick, because several people will know Vampirella, Red Sonja, the boys. They know your Thundercats these days. So like they know some of your comics, but you guys do also produce some amazing art books. Like there's a great Sean Phillips book. There's the art of Atari, the old 80s video games, folks. It's so good. Alex Ross. There's one on the late great Ramona Fradon that they produced that like has an amazing history, amazing interview with Howard Chaykin. So I just wanted to throw that out because I don't think it's something everybody always associates with you guys, but I really think you guys have produced some amazing art books. And I was excited to see that you're getting back into the trading card game in a pretty big way this coming year.
We are. And It's really been exciting. I mean, the fact also going to what you said, Howard wanting to do the interview with
Yeah,
Ramona was
Howard
fantastic.
Chaykin. Yep.
So we launched Dynamite, and the funny thing is the first year, 2 years, you won't see any of our names in the quotes.
Okay.
So we would send out press releases, and the PR person's name was Jay Allen. So I just mixed in Jay Garrett and Barry Allen, two of my favorite
Oh,
characters,
I
which was
didn't know that.
stupid, which was the stupidest thing you could do. You should never, ever, ever do something that is so obvious. So
I didn't know that wasn't a real person or anything. That that went right over my head.
yeah, well, and
I feel naive.
What happened was we got the Battlestar Galactica license,
Mm-hmm.
and oh god, I can't Moore. Oh god.
Oh, the guy that was making the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Help us out, folks, in the chat. More got his start on Star Trek. Created Battlestar Galactica. Somebody will remember his first name because all of
Yeah,
a sudden I'm
somebody
blanking
will.
too.
I almost said Roger, which
That's what I kept thinking of saying, but that's obviously James Bond, which Dynamite has the license to. Ron Moore.
There we go, Ron.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
He was the sweetest guy in the world. So we get on the phone with him, and he's like, he's looking at the ideas we have, and he's like, I like this idea, because like we had to make sure that we didn't tread on anything, because this was early days of BSG, right?
Right.
And so and then he came out and was like, by the way, here's a few ideas that I'd like to see done that I don't think we'll get to if you guys want to run with these ideas, which was like, oh my God, this guy's just incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So we had a TV Guide interview, and the interviewer at TV Guide said, okay, am I attributing you, or who am I attributing? And I said, well, Jay Allen. And he's like, can I talk to Jay Allen? And I sheepishly said, well, actually, I'm Jay Allen. And I explained it to him. He's like, yeah, that's all cute and everything, but I'm either quoting you or I'm not running this story.
Oh.
I said, okay, you're quoting me.
Interesting. Yeah. TV Guide, that hard-hitting source of journalism, finally cracked your secret alter ego. I'm allowed to joke because TV Guide isn't really published on the news racks anymore, so I can joke about them now.
No, it's kind of crazy how much of the old media changed and how much of the old media didn't change with it when people had the opportunity. But yeah, man, look, it's been an interesting ride. It's got its plus and minuses, but like we've got, I mean, honestly, we've got like 80 freelancers we're responsible for.
Yeah,
my staff had to double over the years.
It's a lot of responsibility, Nick.
It's a lot of everything I knew that would happen is here.
I mean, I know, like, from talking to you, there's tons of stories that we could get into for folks here, about like, Dynamite has all these licenses, but none of that happens overnight. There's a lot of stories to be told, but we were having you on to talk about sort of original art and specifically how you have an original art show. Before I delve a little more into that, I would be curious, do you remember the first piece of original art that you may have picked up? Was that like an iconic memory at all? Or was there just sort of a time when you started to collect original art? Because I know you've got a good sized collection.
I do have a nice collection. I'm very fortunate. I'm pretty sure the first original art I picked up was Dick Dillon, World's Finest.
Oh, cool.
So
Dick Dillon was a great underrated but super long time DC guy that like worked on all their big characters. Like,
yep, I mean, he had the
JLA
longest run on Justice League,
and
he did World's Finest. He did so much, and my four favorite characters are the Flash, Green Lantern, Daredevil, and Submariner. So there was an issue of World's Finest where Batman dresses up as this high flyer Daredevil, and like you'll see like the helium filled balloon saying Daredevil, and he was drawing Justice League. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And then George took over when he passed suddenly. Um, but
Right.
um, but I started off as a weekend warrior. I started setting up at conventions when I was 12 or 13 years old, selling to make money because listen, trust me, nothing will make you work harder than growing up poor. It is the best motivator in the world.
You're a
John
hustler.
Romita, John Romita Jr. used to do an issue and a half a month, and he's very, very reserved. He's one of the best artists the industry's ever had. But he said there's three things that make me work hard: a wife, a son, and a mortgage. You get those three things, you start delivering your books on time. Um, but
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I started off, and I would get maybe some sketches here and there, and then when I saw Batman dressed as Daredevil, I'm like, as a Daredevil, not the Daredevil.
Right.
I just picked that up, and then you would see artists at shows, like you might run into Jim Aparo, and Jim Aparo had a great philosophy when he sold his art. He only sold his covers or splash pages because they were the easiest things to draw, and they got him the most amount of money.
I never heard about that. I'm a massive fan of Aparo just because that's sort of the era when I really started reading Batman the most, was like he was the artist. And I really still I feel it holds up so well. I'm a big fan. That's so cool. I never heard that quote. That's great. Um
It's incredible. By the way, just to let everybody know, tonight we are going to do a giveaway.
yes.
This is pure pencils. I want to just show everybody
Look
this
at that.
Weapon X #4, the Jason Aaron series. This is 400. Look, this was $450 when it was initially sold. So we're giving this away tonight for everybody who's willing to put up with Chris's charity work of having me on the air.
That's not charity. This is fun. Yeah, I know. Look, yeah, people are excited about that. I'll let you guys have a crack at this shortly. Um, but like just to be clear, Nick hosts a show as well. I'm going to show it here. Sorry, Nick, it sort of shoves you off to the side there.
Okay.
But this is The Experience. And there's several shows on this channel. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how you came to be involved and what you do on it, Nick, rather than me telling folks what you do since you're right here.
Sure. So I have like 32 years of QVC and home shopping club experience.
Yeah.
So the US, the UK, Germany, Italy, Canada. A funny digression. I was flying to do these shows so often. Do you know what they do when you fill up your passport?
No, actually, I don't think I've ever quite had it filled up before I've renewed it.
So they don't give you a new passport, which is what I assumed they did. They stitch more pages in. So I had millions of points just from flying everywhere. So basically the experience, we looked at it, and we've got Jen King of Space Cadets. Oh God, that ugly face.
I'm not trying to embarrass you. I just giving people an idea of what this is.
So Jen King of Space Cadets and Kyle Northrop, who's our senior producer. We looked at all the Facebook Live shows that retailers were doing during the pandemic, and it was really helping a lot of retailers.
Yeah.
So I had discussions with Jen because I was impressed with some of the things they were doing. And one of the things that came to mind is there are so many platforms that are great for retailers to make money. What if we created a platform that could grow to be 24/7 and promote the comics industry as a whole? Like, I've been doing this since I was 12 or 13 years old. I'm going to be 55. So I really have no intentions of doing anything else with my life. So I just, my philosophy has always been family, friends, and comics. I mean, those are the three most important things to me. So we created the experience to be this platform to promote the comics market.
Yeah.
It's been a slow growth. We've been consistent. I think I can't see it from here, but we have over 3,000 videos on our channel.
Yeah. Over 3,000 videos in like sort of a 2-year time frame, roughly.
2.5 years,
yeah.
give or take. We want this to grow to be so we have 3 full-time producers that produce every show. We have quiz shows, we have interview shows, we have sales shows. So I'll just throw these out real quick, and I'll start Monday. So Mondays at 5:00 Eastern, Miss Jen of Space Cadets has her interview or interviews.
Yep.
At 6:00, we have Comic Collectibles with Rex and John. At 10:00, there's a show called The Devil's Advocate, which is Kyle and Chris, Bronze Age Nerd. They do a show every week where they pick a topic that they talk about. Tuesdays at 7, Jen and Kyle and Jay Burns do in-stores this week. At 8:00, we have Mint Hunter Comics. And then at 10:00, we have Henri Copeland, Call It As You See It. Wednesdays at 7:00, we have Comic Collectibles again. At 8:00, we have Chuck Pino's quiz show. 9:00, we have 360 Comics. 10:00, no, that's it on Wednesday. Then Thursday at 7, Jen of Space Cadets has What's in the Box. And then at 8:00, we have The Geek Show, which is also a cool informational quiz show show. It's a great show. And then at 10:00, we have Mog Park. Thanks, Larry. We work hard. And so we have Mog Park, who always brings in great artists on Thursday night. And
you know what it's like, folks? I'll just be briefly interrupt. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But these days, if you ever turn on like Pluto, you can just sort of like watch shows that are like sort of streaming with whatever you like, whether it's Three's Company or Godzilla. It's like a TV station, folks. The EXP, the experience. It's like a comic book TV channel. There's all sorts of like everything's represented, from the collecting aspect to just sort of like reviewing stuff, interviews, selling art, like doing charity and stuff. When Fat Jack's Comic Crypt, a really old store, started having some financial issues, Nick on his live show where he'll sell like actual original art, he was donating a big portion of that to this comic store to keep them up and running. So all sorts of amazing comic book themed shows, lots of them, and I love that. To me, it's like a streaming channel that's just, you can count on finding something about comics.
Well, and on Fridays at 7, we have the original art experience. And then at 9, Comics Unlimited from Tennessee. Saturday at 6, we have Jam Comics. And then Sunday at 4:30, speaking of Fat Jacks has a show for an hour and a half. Now, this Friday, I've got some trading cards. Dan Parsons, who had a long history with Star Wars, we did these cards called Lex 15 or 20 years ago. His daughter, unfortunately, has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's got a GoFundMe. And about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I had a Walt Simonson Darth Vader sketch in one of the artist editions that IDW put out.
Oh.
And what I did was I sold it for $1,977. And I gave $800 to Dan Parsons' daughter on their GoFundMe, and $200 to the Felix Liu Foundation, which is the second opinion, because a lot of people, when they get diagnosed with a disease, they don't go for a second opinion, and they encourage go for a second opinion. And we raised $350 for that. But this Friday, I'm taking the Lex sketch cards that I still have, and all the sales from that. I'm going to ask everybody, look, I don't know how much I'm going to ask for them yet, but I'm going to say, look, you claim this, go donate on the GoFundMe, send me the receipt that you donated, and we'll just charge you shipping and handling.
Wow.
So, Dan's a great guy. I've known him for over 20 years, probably 25 years. And, I mean, his daughter, cancer sucks, but it sucks more when you're young and you have to deal with it. So we're going to do that on Friday. But everybody, if you get a chance, sub to the EXP, because this we're giving away 25 slabs for hitting 2,500 subscribers. So if you get a chance, please do subscribe and check it out. Yeah, so much cosplay that we had someone who was doing a weekly sewing show showing how she made cosplay outfits.
Isn't that a great idea and a great title?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Ruben. It goes to a worthy cause, Not everybody in comics gets like super rich. We do it because of like passion and stuff like that. And the least we can do is sort of look out for each other here and there. But when you can get like, a piece of art, there's nothing wrong with that. It's everybody wins. It's a win-win-win.
And by the way, these cards will be affordable. I mean, I'm thinking that it'll be somewhere between $40 and $50 each. It's hand drawn. They're 20 to 25 years old, probably closer to 25 years old at this point. And like I said, all the money is going to go. All you need to do is donate the money to Xenia. I think it's Xenia. I might be getting mixed up, but to her GoFundMe, we'll have a link on Friday, and it'll be, the link will be there on the show. And I don't want a penny for it. I want you to put it right on the GoFundMe, so that even though GoFundMe will take a small percentage of each pledge, so to speak, of each donation, I'd rather everybody see the GoFundMe go up more to encourage more donations.
Sure. That sounds great. I mean, yeah. So weekly show, folks, you got a chance to get all sorts of amazing, like, original art. Nick's had some incredible pieces, like, of course, modern stuff, but like, you had that color guide at one point for Teen Titans by Perez, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
On Infinite Earths.
Yeah, so many cool things. Well, let me bring this up, folks. So Nick has kindly said that he's willing to do this giveaway. So in order to have a chance, let's make it easy. Hashtag Dynamite. All right. If you're interested, you don't need to type it more than once. Just in the comments here at this point, and there's a delay, so I'm giving folks time. But hit hashtag Dynamite. Nick and I are going to still talk for a little bit, and in a minute, I'll just hit this like random giveaway tool. Nick's holding up some of those original pencils. This is from Jason Aaron's run on Wolverine.
Yep, so Ron Garney art.
Ron Garney art. Love Ron Garney. He had great stuff on Captain America, G.I. Joe, obviously this one, Wolverine. Folks would have seen him recently on Berserker. Like, yeah, he gets around. Quality artist. That's pretty exciting. And good. Lots of people interested. I'm not surprised. Free is always exciting. And in a few minutes, I think once everybody's had a chance to potentially put that hashtag in, we'll see who the lucky winner is. While they're doing that, though, Nick, let's go ahead and plug some of the stuff that Dynamite has coming up. So we're mentioning the experience, okay? Yeah. That's what we're here for. But were you expecting anywhere near what the first and now second issues of Thundercats were going to get for pre-orders? I mean, I know you're hoping it's going to do well, but are these the numbers you were expecting?
We did not expect them to do this well. I will tell you what I said to the team. We walked into this saying we want to break 60,000 copies. 80,000, we'd be over the moon. 80,000 was a strong number.
Yeah.
But if we can break 60, that's great. I would have been disappointed if we did less than 40. Below
Sure.
40 was the number where I was like, So, and just to give a little bit more background, because this old show, either I'm tenacious or stupid, it's one or the other. We talked to Warner Brothers for 10 years trying to find titles we could work on together. So 3 years ago, we came, I would say, maybe not like that close, but close, where we pitched them for Thundercats and Lost Boys. And the proposal wasn't aggressive enough for Warner Brothers. And, we put in a relatively, conservative proposal. Hey, Daniel. We put in something that was conservative. It just wasn't enough. So I stayed in touch with the rep every 6 months or so.
Smart.
And I, not this past November, but November 2022, we got on the phone and I said, look, I'm looking at our emails, and we actually started talking 10 years ago this month. You think for the 10th anniversary of our talking, we can put together a deal? And he laughed. And I'm not saying that joke got us the deal, but I said, look, the last pitch wasn't aggressive enough. Can we talk about more characters where we can be more aggressive? Because when you're a big company like Warner Brothers or Disney, you've got that minimum threshold that you have to make for them to move forward. They're just too big to do anything less.
And you need a big threshold so that, because you're paying a licensing fee and stuff. I mean, it all has to make sense at the end of the day. It all has to make sense.
Exactly. So I think that a lot of things came into play. Like I said, I mean, 80,000 to me would have been a grand slam, 60,000 a home run. Below 40,000, I would have
basically tripled that. You basically tripled that.
Yeah. When all was said and done, we sold 200,000 copies of number one once you add in the second print.
Wow. And I guess, if we who knows if we'll get to like a third print, and that might go up more. But I saw that the initial orders also sold out on like a retailer level at like high 80s or something like that.
Yeah, number two, we're at 82,000 in initial orders.
That's amazing.
And I think we were look, there's a lot of things. Sometimes it's a perfect storm. Declan and Drew, tell me about it. It's surreal.
It's a great team. It's a great team. No question. I mean, you got to have that to back it up.
And they got behind it. Like this wasn't creators that were like, sure, we'll do an interview here or there. Like they were like front and center. Thank you for the interview you did with Declan. And
I mean, that's also thanks to Declan. He stayed up to like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning to pop up on this silly show. So and
it was just a lot of fun, and retailers are happy. Look, at the end of the day, while we obviously want those numbers for us, it was really important to get those numbers because Warner Brothers had faith in us. Retailers were expecting us to succeed, and we needed to make the fans happy. And
everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah, and now we've got Space Ghost coming out.
Space Ghost
May, and it's with David P. Poise and Jonathan Lau on art.
Yep.
In July, we have Johnny Quest. The numbers are dynamite. That's awesome. We have Johnny Quest. We may also have Powerpuff Girls in July for San Diego Comic-Con. For October, we're doing an original graphic novel on Wizard of Oz. And when people find out who the creator is, I think they're going to flip out. It's a writer-artist who has worked on a major title for us. We're just going to bat. And I honestly cannot thank the fans and the retailers enough. I can't thank Warner Brothers enough. And I can't thank the creative team of Declan, Drew, and everybody, editorial, who pulled this all together, sales and marketing. At the end of the day, I'll throw Is Nick sick of Dynamite puns yet? Hey, it's been 20 years of Dynamite puns, so it's all good. The Beowulf. Um, the I'll always say I'm the least important person in the process. It starts with the creative, works with production, sales and marketing, editorial. Yep, Powerpuff Girls comics. So it's just
People are excited about what you're doing, Nick.
we're very fortunate, and we still have so many other great titles. We have Hercules launching in April. We
Yep.
have Steve Niles on Red Sonja. We have a few Disney titles we haven't announced yet. That's another relationship that we've expanded.
I'm enjoying this one. You've got artist Rafa Labasco and Garth Ennis on James Bond. I've been enjoying that one.
Yeah. Listen, that it took us 10 years. Well, speaking of 10 years, it took us 10 years to get Garth involved in James Bond. Believe it or not, they're also Dynamite. Believe it or not, Garth had no interest in writing James Bond because all he knew were the movies. He ended up reading Warren Ellis's James Bond, and he realized the source material was so much better than from his point of view.
The Ian Fleming books.
Exactly. The books. I mean, to me, I don't know how big of a James Bond fan you are.
I'm the biggest. Okay. Literally, I'm insane with like the trivia and stuff. I love it all. I love it all.
So you may crucify me for this, but my favorite James Bond is Timothy Dalton.
I'm not going to crucify you for that. I think Dalton was great, and I think I wish we got a little bit more of him because we got like one that was a kind of a little light, one that was really dark. Didn't quite get that one in the middle that like hit the sweet spot, but it was still very good. I like dude. I've watched like View to a Kill multiple times, which is like, James Bond pushing 60 and like 300 pounds and like just sort of lumbering around, and I still love it. So,
well, I will say this: the best movie of James Bond who went into retirement.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, watch The November Man with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have, and I agree. That's an interesting take on it. Yeah, it only not only works, but it works because they got Pierce Brosnan.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it wouldn't have worked without them. I mean, Dalton did not have the best scripts, but his attitude and the way he was. I mean, you may know this, but Dalton was offered Bond before Roger Moore.
I know. So was Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, yep. Both of them got offered it before, and maybe they would have been too young. Who knows?
Well, that's what Dalton said. Dalton said he wasn't experienced enough to play Bond.
I think he would have done fine, but whatever. Dalton's done a lot of great stuff since then too, before and since. He's great. I totally am not going to fight you on that one. I think everybody had a chance, Nick, to get in.
Let me answer one thing for S Train. Just
okay. Quick. What did they? Oh yeah, here we go.
Powerpuff. Since Jay Allen was my pseudonym. Right. Powerpuff Girls would kick my butt easily. Even the imaginary Powerpuff Girls would kick my butt.
There you go.
So everybody, I hope you entered #Dynamite.
#Dynamite. I think everybody's had a very fair chance. So we're gonna hit start collecting comments, folks. And let's see. It's that doesn't sound right. 17.
Oh, you know what? Everybody, make sure you put a capital D. Let's give it another minute. I think some people did.
Well, then let me just change this, and if you put a capital, let me see what happens there. Because now it'll start adding up, right? So I'll give folks a chance here because I won't hit the draw button yet. #Dynamite with the lowercase d if you didn't do it. Okay, see it's right here.
Everybody, everything lowercase. Just
I'm sorry that I haven't done one of these in a little bit, so I screwed you guys up. Go ahead, it's adding them up. Yeah, that those numbers are making a lot more sense. I was like 15. I was like, no.
I can't see how many people are watching right now, but how many people are watching?
182 now. We always get to be clear, several thousand later. So I'm sorry if you're not catching it. Yeah.
I just want to make sure you get at least 50 entries. You know, when you
Oh
got that
yeah,
many
we've
people.
already passed that. We've already passed that.
Oh, good.
It's going up. It's going up right now. Yeah, we've got just under 200 people watching live right at this minute. Entries, we're climbing over 60. So like, yeah, let's make sure that, like, you know, there's a good pool here. I mean, the odds are getting further and further out of your favor, but one of you will get something for free and the rest of you get, like, you know, another hour and a half or 2 hours of me. So everybody wins. And just so that you guys all no, I said lowercase d, amen, unless you're trying to mess with people. It's right there. It's right there on the screen. So that everybody's got a chance. I see entries still coming in, so I'm not going to draw until I see that taper off. But remember that the reason we're doing this is to help promote Nick on his weekly YouTube show, The Experience. There are lots of other shows on that channel. I'll put that back up in a minute. We'll resolve the drawing, and then we'll end with another plug. By the way, so I'll draw this in a second. We might get up to 100 entries here.
Nice.
Let's see. I was excited to see that you're getting in on the you've got the Thundercats and stuff, but you're getting in on another 80s property. I saw Dynamite was going to be doing some trading cards for Transformers.
Yeah, that was also a little bit of being tenacious. We did go after the GI Joe Transformers license, and we were told by Hasbro that we had the second best compelling offer. And I will tell you, the second the announcement of what Void Rivals was, I emailed Hasbro and said, I think we would have done a great job with Transformers and GI Joe, but I can honestly say Kirkman and Skybound did a better job than we would have. And it's the truth. And
who knows, but it is, I do like it. I think they're doing some great stuff. Who knows?
I can just tell you that I don't think we would have thought of going after Daniel Warren Johnson. I don't think we would have. No, I'm just being honest. There are things that Skybound did that I'm not sure we would have thought of. We may have done different things. Maybe we would have done as good of a job. But
it's outside the box. It's outside the box because, Daniel Warren Johnson has a very fluid, energetic style that you don't necessarily associate with something as sort of like, you know, blocky and solid as Transformers, but it works.
Well, all right. And the funny thing is, me sending that email inspired the licensing person at Hasbro to say, wow, I really appreciate this. I've never had somebody who lost a license actually come to me and say that I made the right decision. I've had people come to me and say, I could have done a better job. This is what I would have done differently. And I was like, dude, you made the right choice, in my opinion. And he was like, and he said, what else can we do? And I said, can we do trading cards? He's like, yeah, let's figure it out.
I love that. Hey, Care Bear Comics has been on this channel since like just about the beginning. That's fantastic. That's so exciting. Nick, do you want Care Bear to like send me the contact info? Send you guys, like, what's easiest for you?
Have him send it to you, and then you can forward on to me.
So here's what you can do, Care Bear, is just send an email to comictropes@gmail.com. Okay, I'm just typing it in there. Congratulations, Care Bear. I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting it, but one person has to win. I'm happy that it was you. Congratulations. That's pretty exciting. That's thank you, Nick. Very kind of you to do something like that for us. Wow. And here, I'll pull this one thing up one more time because this is the whole reason we're here. Is Nick wanted to let you guys know we're going to share this around. You know, share it with friends and family and neighbors and enemies alike. The Experience, and that's a place where there will be more original art that you can claim. You can do claims.
Well, real quick, and I do want to mention one thing. So, because you're promoting this, which I appreciate, I want to show a few things. So, this Star-Lord layout by Greg Hildebrandt.
Yes. Oh, here, let me zoom in a little bit on that. Okay.
I'm going to have this on Friday's show. You got to
Ooh.
be live to claim it. I'm going to have this for $100, and this is
Wow.
Walt Hildebrand.
A Hildebrand for starting at 100, huh?
Yep. And I'm going to have a little bit more fun. I'm going to have at least, all right, name one of your favorite creators on Captain America.
Me or
Yeah.
anybody? Okay, me. Well,
you and everybody. Who's one of your favorite artists on Captain America?
Artists. I mean, you have to start with Jack Kirby. I think you have to. But after that, oh, I'm so bad at names, even though I love them. I was a huge fan of Ed Brubaker's run, and he had a great classic artist whose name
Steve
I'm blanking.
Epting.
Steve Epting. I
Yep.
really liked Steve Epting's take. I like Ron Garney's take with Mark Waid. That was a great team up. Oh, you know who was underrated? Paul Neary.
Yeah.
Recently lost him. Yep, Mike Zeck. I'm listing a bunch of names, but I start with Jack Kirby and I sort of go from there.
So on Friday, and my favorite run was the Mark Waid, Ron Garney run.
It's really good.
I've actually never ever sold a single page. Look, and to let everybody know, a lot of the art that I sell on Fridays is my art, and I try and reward people. So we may have some expensive art, like we've got 2 John Romita Jr. Spider-Man covers that'll be available this Friday.
Wow.
But what I'm going so real quick before I get to this, so this one guy Alberto Gonzalez, who's a real big member of the community, he bought a lot of stuff to help Fat Jacks. So he really wanted to buy one of my Garney pages because he hardly had any Garney art, and he's the biggest Captain America fan I know. So I did a little bit of a swerve. So I told him on a Friday, next week I'll have a Captain America page that I'll put up on the air. And when that Friday came up, I did a little bit of a swerve. I was like, look, Alberto, you'll have to forgive me. I can't sell you this page. I've never sold a page from the Ron Garney run. I can't sell it, but I can give it to you for free.
Oh, my goodness.
Totally threw him. I mean, look, the guy spent thousands of dollars helping Fat Jacks.
Wow.
I mean, he even bought comics, and he doesn't buy comics anymore. And he was like, I'll buy all these Tales of Suspense to help support. So
I love it.
On Friday, one of these Steve Epting pages, and I'm not sure which one, I am going to put on the air for $100.
Folks. So yeah, you're going to want to check that out, folks. Obviously, this is an opportunity to not just get some amazing artwork, to get some artwork at a really amazing price, and to know that it's going to good causes. I mean, that's a win-win-win across the board, however you describe it. Yeah, people are wowed by that, Nick.
And we're also going to have a few non-cap pages. We will have a few non-cap pages that will be under $100. Part of the thing about the experience also is to foster the community. And there are some pages of artwork that if I bought it 15 years ago, I got a really good price. I like sharing that to just grow the audience, grow the community. So we're going to have some fun. We usually have fun. Yeah. Sometimes we'll do a best offer. I've lost my shirt at least twice doing a best offer show. So, but it makes it for entertainment.
Best offer. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I hope that this helps spread the word. Nick, you have always been very kind to me. You started watching this show when I was ridiculously sick at the beginning of the pandemic.
I remember.
You've been very kind to me, and it's been really nice getting to know you. You do a lot for the community. It's been my pleasure to share a small portion of the fact that you do that.
Well, look, Chris, I'm going to leave it with this. First of all, everybody hit the thumbs up. It helps Chris's algorithm. But I'm going to leave it like this. You know, you're one of the great ambassadors of this industry. And you are someone who pushes the industry forward on a regular basis. You shoot it straight. You do a recap. And one of the things that I love about you that is that when there are things you don't know, you don't pretend to be an expert at it. You'll give the information that you have, and
Sure.
you'll foster some opinion, but you won't go too far into it. But at the end of the day, I mean, between comic tropes and pros and cons, you're just a fantastic ambassador. And I'll go back to what I said early in this conversation. I've been doing this for 42 to 43 years at this point. I have no plans of doing anything else.
Nor should you.
I can't. And I just want to support anybody that supports this industry.
Thanks,
there,
man.
what? Not that there. I'll say there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of speculator channels popped during the pandemic.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah,
and obviously that works for them, and fans love it, and that's great.
It's fine.
But to me, a lot of the growth comes from you, from Bueller, from Near Mint. Just
there's always I agree. There's a bunch of great channels. You guys have one guy that started to show up on the Experience. I think Bronze Age Nerd is a really nice guy that's got a good take. He likes the collecting aspect, but he seems to know his stuff too. There's always going to be plenty of up and comers, but thank you for helping and saying nice things like that. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here. I'm going to let you guys go. Everyone,
we got a lot to do.
Yep. And have a good one. And hopefully I'll see some of you Friday.
I will.
Guys, 25 CGC graded books are being given away. So, if you get a chance to catch any of the shows, we're giving away one per show.
Perfect. Nick, always a pleasure. I hope you get a bunch more viewers this Friday. Thank you so much, sir.
Take care, man. Have a great one.
You too. Bye. I hope that gave you guys a little bit of insight into the Nick Barrucci that I know. He has been a really kind guy. And I think, Dynamite is pretty impressive. A lot of us know the comics and stuff, but I do want to reiterate, look up their art books. Look up their art books. You are going to be surprised at how many great ones they have produced. A lot of good channels. Look at all those nice thank yous. That's so nice. He is amazing. Oh, nice to see you, Jim. The interview in some ways went longer than I was expecting, but it's just so easy for me to talk to Nick. He's just he's got interesting stories. He's nice. He's really easy to talk to. Tell you what, I'm going to keep moving because a little slow on that one bite snack, but I like the hustle there. That's good. That's really good. Let's go ahead and just roll right into recapping some of the news of the week. There's some great news. There's some sad news, but it's all going to be interesting stuff for us as a community to sort of riff on. I think that'll be fun. As usual, just totally nailed the thumbnail. All right, let's start with this. This is, by the way, sort of a trend I've been seeing a little bit more. Maybe you guys have as well, where some creators will crowdfund their book, and then once that's successfully been funded, certain publishers are picking it up to sort of just easily put it into retailers' hands. So it's like you can get your first crack at getting the exclusives and getting the first edition with the crowdfunding. But I think it makes sense to then sort of you've got the product there, let's get it out to more people. This is an example of that. Dark Horse has picked up the Wagner and Jones Dracula book. I remember talking about this in the news a few months ago. So we're talking about Matt Wagner, Kelly Jones. Sorry, I didn't capitalize your name, Matt Wagner. That's rude of me. That was a mistake. They successfully already funded their Kickstarter for a series of Dracula comics. Well, Dark Horse has now announced that they're going to release a print edition this October. Good timing, right before Halloween. People love, horror stuff right around then. I certainly do. Amen, thank you for the super chat. I saw Ghoul in Municipal Waste live. 'Twas great. Very cool. The art of Jose Gonzalez is an amazing Dynamite art book. They've got a lot. I think that this is an interesting creative team. to have on a Dracula book. I think a lot of people would agree Kelly Jones good for Batman. Feels like that's half a step over to get to Dracula. So the book is the first book anyway here, 112 pages, $50. But that's a pretty big book, obviously. This is going to be the first of 4 planned volumes. In book 1, they're going to explore Count Dracula before his storyline in the Bram Stoker novel. Obviously, a lot of time there to explore for the character, from his first foray into the dark arts to the rise to the Lord of the Undead. That's a nice title. Who gave him that? Was that himself? Because if that's a self-given title, that's not too impressive. I've heard of it, but I have not read the Blackula thing. I know Rodney Barnes added Blackula to his Philadelphia book at Image Comics, along with characters like Spawn and stuff. I'm going to have to read Philadelphia at some point. Someday we'll get an actual adaptation of the actual contents of the book. You know, on a somewhat related note to that, if you like sort of just a literal adaptation of a classic horror book, Junji Ito just did a literal adaptation of the Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley. That's pretty interesting. So I would recommend that one. What else have we got? My goodness. Webtoon is so huge, and they are now looking to get listed on the stock market. So Bloomberg, which, you know, covers all sorts of boring finance stuff, reports that South Korea's online comics giant Webtoon is looking to have its U.S. entertainment branch, Webtoon Entertainment, go public as early as this June. That's really soon. Oh, hold on. Thank you for the super chat. I shouted your channel out in my question for Tom Brevoort's next newsletter. Oh, that's so kind of you, Evan. Tom Brevoort's a really impressive guy. Definitely the best editor Marvel has. Let's see. Jumping back to the news. Oh, my cat's trying to get some attention. The company, Webtoon, in Korea, has received a valuation of anywhere between $3 to $4 billion. That's with a B, $billion from various brokerage houses, estimating what their value is. They hope to raise as much as $500 million by putting Webtoon Entertainment up for an introductory public offering. I don't know how much everybody knows about the stock market, but IPO is when you actually sell shares of your company. That's what it's called. 500 million is a lot. 500, however, is 500 million a lot when the parent company could be worth up to $4 billion? Well, it's still a good chunk, but yeah. Yes, mostly digital. A lot of it that's really popular does end up in print too. Yep, you guys heard my kitty. Yep. Let's see. This is just talking about how big the business is, really. The reason they've decided that they're probably finally going to do the IPO, because they have been around for a while, is what happened last year. Because last year, their global Webtoon sector, Naver owns other things, but like it saw a 41% increase in sales after sort of holding flat for the previous 2 years. A 41% increase, reaching 1.5 trillion won. I mean, this is in South Korea. That's the equivalent of about 1.1 billion US dollars. So really, really wild. Just how popular this is, how many people read it. And I mean, this is with like, you know, piracy and stuff, but people are willing to pay a reasonable price for regular entertainment. There are some advertisements, but mostly it's people paying for a subscription, which is very, very little. It's like a couple bucks a month. Webtoon going public makes me a bit wary. You're not wrong. Would seem even less conducive to spotlighting the smaller comics, not that they're doing that much now. It's a serious concern. In fact, I had one last piece saying some analysts believe that Naver is valuated so high, the overall company, that this new IPO will not necessarily increase the parent company's share price. In fact, it literally could bring that down. So there are analysts that's really deep in the weeds, and I don't care too much to analyze the financials. I just don't care that much. It's just worth mentioning on this scale. We can at least see at a high level, this is big business. And I think it does indicate that we can expect to see a lot more comics formatted for online viewing, scrolling, vertical. I think it's going to be a lot. I just see that this is going to be a big portion of comics moving forward. Not saying it's all going there, but it's also not a fad. It's just a legit way it's moving forward. This is a fun one. This is nice. Image Comics this week announced a retailer award where you can sort of honor your local comic book store. Let me break that down. So we're saying Image Comics announced this. It's called the Image Select Retailer Award. Fans can nominate their local comic shop, and it's to just overall help celebrate the direct market. Here's what the winner will get. The store will get a commemorative medallion. Nice. A spotlight Q&A to be featured on Image Comics social media platforms and website. Good. Promotion's always nice. And the store's choice of a gold foil exclusive variant branded as an Image Select Retailer Award winner with the store logo, up to 250 copies. Fun for them to probably make a little bit of money on. The winner is going to be announced very soon. So they just announced this week, but the winner of the first one will be announced March 1st. So that's going to happen at Lunar Distribution's event at this weekend's Emerald City Comic-Con. If you think that your store deserves to be considered, all you have to do is go to this Google form here, and you can nominate your shop to potentially get this award. So if you really love your local comic shop, why not take 5 seconds to drop their info in for a nomination, right? That would probably, I'm sure if you really love your comic shop, you want other people to know about it, and this would help. Yeah, I guess it is a little bit like getting a Michelin star. It's true. That's true. I thought I'd share that. I think that's nice. Can I share that link in chat? I mean, yes. Oh, so that it's clickable? Technically, yes. Hold on. I can do that. Let me... well, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't have an easy way to do it. I don't have an easy way to do it now. I'll type it into the description once the show is finished streaming live. Okay. Yep. There's my cat again. Sorry, everybody. Thought this was just sort of worth sharing. Comic Hub listed the best-selling comics of 2023. This, you can read the whole list on ICV2, that website. It listed this, and it's based on sales data that's pulled from 125 stores. Okay, that's what Comic Hub is it lists the point of sale numbers for 125 comic book shops in America that they poll. It's sort of meant to be like a random sampling that's hopefully representative of big things. But let me put that data in context real quick. First of all, I don't have any overall sales numbers to say like how many numbers each of these top selling books sold at. You know, these days there's several different distributors, and they've stopped being transparent about throwing in how many copies they're selling. I'd love to see that transparency come back. But we will see. No, this is sales to stores, but it's only from 125 stores. So like they're saying what they bought. Just to put this in context some more. There's around 2,500 comic shops in the US, maybe up to 3,000. I wouldn't know exactly. This sample size is around 5% or less. Could be accurate. Could just be that they grabbed 125 stores that don't reflect the rest of the industry. Not super likely, to be honest. Not super likely when we're talking about the best-selling comics of the entire year. It's likely going to be pretty much the same if you pulled all the stories. Although the numbers could shift and like the positions could jockey around a little bit. But if you can probably see at least some of this, I hope, like for just like the top several: Transformers #1, Spider-Man #7. I think that was the first Spider-Boy. Amazing Spider-Man 25, Batman 135. Legacy numbering was 900. Void Rivals #1, Amazing Spider-Man 26, 17, 23, Predator versus Wolverine, Ninja Turtles Last Ronin Lost Years #1. More Amazing Spider-Man, Batman Spawn was a one shot. Another Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Boy, Amazing Spider-Man, Batman, Ultimate Invasion, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, Amazing Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, Batman, Avengers, Wonder Woman, Night Terrors, Batman. Again, 2023. What stands out? It surprises me to see, but Amazing Spider-Man is selling much better than I anticipated, to be honest. I sort of bailed on that one, even though I love John Romita Jr. Just on a personal level. I like his art. But the story kind of left me a little cold. Maybe it got better. I don't know. DC is going to return to releasing their new comic books on Wednesdays. They started releasing their comics on Tuesdays in April of 2020 when they when they switched to a new distributor. And I don't think that worked well for most retailers, because it's been so many years that people come into comic shops once a week. People don't want to come in twice a week. So I know a lot of retailers literally would just, even though it was a new release that you're allowed to sell that day, they just hold it for Wednesday so that everybody could come in on one day and sort of have a fair chance at getting that without it selling out. So this past week was the Comics Pro event. That stands for a professional retailer organization. It's an industry event for publishers to speak to retailers. And DC announced that they're going to move back to Wednesdays for their new release day, and that's going to start this July. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Seems like, yeah, most people agree that that's what they want. Why did they do this? DC cited feedback from retailers and readers as driving the choice. By the way, new graphic novels and collected editions will continue to release on Tuesday, but I don't think that that's as much of a concern. People are more concerned about, like, suppose you wanted to get Night Terrors #1 and you came in on Wednesday to get the rest of your comics and Night Terrors #1 was sold out. That would be very frustrating for people. It would also be very frustrating if, like me, you have to drive like 30 minutes to get to your comic store. I'm not going to do that twice a week. I'm going to go once. There's a lot of DC stuff that they announced at the Comics Pro event. Another one is this. Absolute Power is their next sort of brand, their next big initiative. What is it? Dawn of DC has been their sort of brand with new, fresh, creative teams for the last couple of years. Good jumping on points for readers. It's going to phase out because the thing that they've had going on in the background of all of this is Amanda Waller has been building up her power. She's the jerk behind the Suicide Squad, if you don't know. And she's very dangerous. Very dangerous. It's going to come from a great creative team, though. Writer Mark Waid and artist Dan Mora. They worked together on Batman, Superman, World's Finest. They are going to do a 4-issue series for this starting July 2nd. But I've heard that Mark Waid is writing all sorts of tie-in issues as well. So a lot. What's this? Midtown Comics in-store would close early Tuesday and put out the Tuesday books at night and then sell them starting opening the next day. Sure, that makes sense. Yeah. They were working on Shazam, but kind of briefly. This is what they're doing next. It could be fun, to be honest. I think Amanda Waller's a good villain. What's she trying to do? Listen to this. Waller will use the strategic and military might of Failsafe and the otherworldly technology of the Brainiac Queen to steal all metahuman abilities from every superhero and supervillain around the globe. A threat so dire it will take the combined efforts of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the superheroes of the DC universe to defeat it. Cool. Yes, he's writing about 25 issues. It's only going to be a 4-issue main series, but a bunch of tie-ins. Oh, yeah. I remember Ultimate Power. I wanted it to work. I didn't care for it that much. My comic shops have no regular new comic day. Shipping is all over the place here, so things get here when they get here. Aw, that makes it tough as a reader. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Yes, this is definitely pulling together subplots that they've had going across their titles for a while. So it just means that it's sort of an organic event, which I prefer those compared to like things that happen out of nowhere and just derail all the series. Like Amanda Waller's been becoming a bigger and bigger threat for like 2 years. Oh, yeah, Batman would be uniquely positioned there. I didn't even think about that yet. Also DC, they're putting out reprints called DC Finest. That's the brand of them. I kind of like the idea of it. In November, they're going to start selling these collections, about $35, but they're based on a character as compared to following just like a specific run or a specific artist or something like that. It's just going to collect a bunch of stuff. So, for instance, The Flash here. That's going to be the John Broome, Carmine Infantino Silver Age Barry Allen Flash. Includes, his first appearance in Showcase number 4. We'll have a bunch of famous first appearances of his villains like Captain Cold, Mirror Master, Gorilla Grodd. Could be fun. Batman will be basically year 1 and 2. Year 1 was Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli. Batman Year 2 was by Mike W. Barr, Todd McFarlane. Not as many people remember that, but had a great villain in it. Reaper? Something like that. I think it was called Reaper. And a few more 80s, like mid to late 80s Batman stories from people like Barr, Max Ann Collins, Norm Brayfogle, underrated, and others. Gail Simone, much more recent. It's her Wonder Woman run with artist Terry Dodson, and I think Aaron Lepestre did some too. Catwoman. Catwoman here is all her sort of mini-series leading up to her first ongoing. So like the 1989 miniseries by Mindy Newell and J.J. Birch, the Peter Milligan and Tom Grinberg short run in 92, and the first year of the ongoing series by Joe Duffy and Jim Balent. I have that right? That's good. Yeah, I won't be surprised if they do try this, if this sort of does well. And yeah, Superman is like his earliest years, 38 to 40. So all that early Siegel and Schuster stuff could be fun. It's a lot like Marvel Essentials, exactly. Like, so if one of these stories had an annual or an important crossover issue, that would be included. Yeah, it definitely was a good run. I hate mentioning this stuff, but I like to spread the word when a comic store is robbed, because you never know who might hear something about it and maybe help some of the comics get returned. So this is going to Fresno, California. A comic shop was robbed this week. A thief in a ski mask, so you can't really get a good look at who he is, smashed in the door at Secret Identity Comics. There's actually a long security footage amount, both inside and outside. He just kicks at this door forever till he finally smashes the bottom part of the door. It took a long time. He stole, the owner estimates, about $1,000 worth of comics off the wall. So simple smash and grab job. This particular store, Secret Identity Comics, it's under new ownership. Owner just started in January. He bought what used to be called, I spelled that wrong, Heroes Comics, who retired and sold it in December. There is security footage outside, though, that's I think has a really nice, clean look at the vehicle. Hopefully, the license plate as well. So there's a good chance they could track this guy down. We will see. We will see. Oh yeah, definitely. The Morrison and Pollock Doom Patrol runs deserve a collection. I want an anthology of all the DC product tie-ins, like DC KFC, right? Subway and all that stuff. It's kind of baffling how Alan Davis did just the first issue of Batman Year 2 and bailed. It is weird, but yeah. Remembers to wear a mask, parks in front of a camera. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Moving on, The Boys seems to be renewed for a season 5. Now, this isn't official, but let me talk about it. So, season 4 of the Amazon Prime show is going to debut sometime this year. They haven't announced the official date, but it's coming this year. Season 5, they haven't officially announced yet, but a new page on productionlist.com, which lists active productions for film and TV, shares that filming on The Boys season 5 will occur between April 8th to August 22nd. That's really soon. It does seem to be real. So probably they put it into production before they officially announced it. I bet that they announce it imminently, if this is real. But I think it's very likely to be real. One reason, it seems likely to me that it's accurate because Gen V, the spinoff, they did already announce that that's getting a season 2. So like these shows are really getting good numbers, just to be clear. By the way, Dynamite Comic, since we had Nick on earlier, The Boys. I like the show. I actually like a lot of the storytelling choices in this, possibly even more than the original comics, which I know is heresy to say. I'm not saying that the comics are bad. I'm not. I like Garth Ennis, but I like the TV show. I thought Gen V was really good too. It fit in the world, still told us a different story, but like it had actually like a bunch of fairly likable characters. Oh yeah. You know, these shows are doing so well, and while it's not like they're cheap, like when you compare it to things like Rings of Power, Amazon is making such a better profit off something like this. Yeah, Carl Urban is the best. The best. Mm. I think it could go on for a little while, to be honest. I think that there's still some story to tell. You forgot about Rings of Power. They spend so much. Speaking about Garth Ennis, though, look at this. He's going to do a sword and sorcery parody comic. Wait, did I miss something? Yeah. Okay. It's the same team that made Crossed. Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows. They're also doing a Punisher Nick Fury one-shot or miniseries, I think it is, at Marvel soon. But they're reteaming for this new book called Babs through Ahoy Comics. Babs here is a skilled barbarian thief with an itchy metal wardrobe. Obviously, that's satire, I think. And the world's worst enchanted sword, named Barry. Together, Babs and Barry travel the highways and byways of a fabulous fantasy universe. Ennis had a quote for the press release on this, said, "The character is one of my favorite types. Good at the job, but crap at life, with a lousy attitude to boot. And the world of sword and sorcery provides endless opportunities for deeply disrespectful humor." I'm fine with that. I think that sounds like a decent idea. This is coming out July 17th. I heard that Punisher Soviet was pretty darn good. Crossed is a mess of a series. Didn't Crossed have several different creators in like a shared post-apocalyptic like zombie type universe? Wasn't it a bunch? Hold on. I know what you mean. His cynicism doesn't work well for me in a bunch of the superhero stuff. Here and there, I think it works very well. Like I liked Preacher quite a bit. But I didn't like Pilgrim. I don't know. There's things I like and things I don't like, but it's a decent idea here. And as long as I'm speaking about Ahoy Comics, not everybody knows them, but they put out some good stuff. They're doing a Toxic Avenger comic. This is an actual cover art for it, which I think is hilarious. Yeah, so far for me, his cynicism has worked all right for Bond. It fits well. Let's see. So, Toxic Avenger. Ahoy Comics is going to release a limited series adapting the 1984 Toxic Avenger movie into new stories. That starts October 9th. Comes from writer Matt Bors, a Pulitzer Prize finalist for his political cartoons, and the Nib founder. And we've got art by Fred Harper here. I think that's a pretty funny team. Matt Bors can be pretty funny. Yes, Matt Bors. Matt Bors doing a Toxic Avenger comic. Bors explained a bit about what this version will be. He says, this series will combine elements of the original films with the Toxic Crusaders cartoon and characters in familiar ways, updated to tell a story of environmental devastation, corporate control, and social media mutation. Hooked me with Bors. I believe they are doing a Toxic Avenger reboot. Yes. That's a great cover. I hope the interiors have the same energy. Same artist. I think Toxic Avenger is a surprisingly relevant character that you could do some really good stuff with. Isn't that a good cover? I mean, he's just so weird and gross, but kind of adorable at the same time. Really, you like Sergeant Kabuki Man the best? Okay. I think I will go with Toxic Avenger as my favorite of the Troma, but who knows? You know, maybe someday Jim Mafood and I will add one of the Troma films to our upcoming show, Trash Movie Bonanza. We've already recorded 2 episodes. Just want to get the editing as good as possible. Ninja Turtles has a bunch of plans for this year being its 40th anniversary. Look at this cover, by the way, by James Stokey. I like it. It's really a cool take on Turtles. They announced that they're going to have 5 comics this year. We're talking about an anthology, 2 ongoing books, and 2 one-shots. Let me break that. Tromeo and Juliet is fascinating for being the first professional work of James Gunn, but I did not care for it as a movie. I say hell to the yes to that. Yeah, there's got to be something in Troma's vault that we would find appropriate for our show. So I'll give that some thought. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Black, White, and Green. That comes out May 8th. It's an anthology. It's going to have Declan Shalvey, Paulina Gonishow, Javier Rodriguez, Jock. Obviously, you can see here. Stokey, just all sorts of cool stuff. There's going to be Ninja Turtles Alpha. That's in June. It's going to, they say, set the stage for the future of the TMNT universe by longtime writer Tom Waltz, art by Gavin Smith. Okay. Ninja Turtles Usagi Yojimbo Saturday Morning Adventures. So obviously the Turtles and Usagi have a huge history of crossing over in the comics and the cartoons and stuff like that. Now they've got this new ongoing title based on sort of the original 87 cartoon. So Eric Burnham and Jack Lawrence are going to make that. That could be fun. We've got TMNT Night Watcher in August, a great creative team, Juniba and Pharaoh Pei, but I don't know this character Night Watcher. I'm too behind to know about that one, but that's an ongoing, I guess. And we've got, or no, that's a one-shot, right? That's a one-shot. There's going to be TMNT Mutant Nation. That's an ongoing. It's going to be an ongoing about the supporting characters in Ninja Turtles because there's a lot of mutants. So Tom Waltz again, Sophie Campbell. Both of them have worked on Ninja Turtles for a very long time now. They know the stuff very well. So yeah, Sophie Campbell on art, Tom Waltz writing, could be really fun. Yeah, the one that Stan Sakai made, I like that. I like that a lot. Night Watcher was Raph's alter ego. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember the animated movie and that Raphael was basically a vigilante. I didn't remember that it was called Night Watcher. I forgot that. Night Watcher was Raph's vigilante alter ego from TMNT 2007, but the new IDW Night Watcher features a new character under the helmet. Okay, that makes sense because IDW has sort of remixed ideas from all the previous comics, movies, TV shows, etc., and toys even. So yeah. Yeah, they've got some people that have been involved for quite a while that are staying. I'm curious to see what Jason Aaron does with it. Neil Gaiman, obviously, all of us know him for his comics and stuff, but he also writes a bunch of novels. One of them that was a novel that up to now has not been a comic is Anansi Boys, but it is going to be turned into a comic. So his 2005 book is going to be adapted by writer Mark Bernardin and artist Sean Martinborough. If you haven't read it, hey, nice to see you as always, Peg Warmers. Yeah, Night Watch, the Spawn ripoff, right? So let's see. If you haven't read it, Anansi Boys follows fat Charlie Nancy, who leads a boring life as a boring Londoner until he discovers two things: that his recently deceased father was, in fact, Anansi, the trickster god of African folklore, and that he has a twin brother he's never met. That definitely changes things up. Yeah, Mark wrote for the Picard show. He's done, he originally covered the comic book beat for Entertainment Weekly. He's written comics and TV shows. Not my favorite of his books. I haven't read it, to be honest. But I did like what Mark said appealed to him here. He explained why he took the job, saying, quote, "It's the getting to play with African folklore in a contemporary setting. It's getting to play with cultural specificity with a Black story that does not require the standard Black story tropes. There is no pain, no tragedy. There is joy and fear, but not one whiff of slavery. It's about a man whose life is far bigger than he could have imagined and how he deals with that. And it's funny, it's romantic, it's a gift to play in this world." That's a nice take on the material. So we'll see. Maybe it can be additive to be adapted into comics. Maybe it can be additive. I don't know. I've never met him in person, but congrats on getting to meet him. He's a huge name. Wait, look at this. Nick forgot to turn off his camera. Somebody at Dynamite needs to turn off their camera. They're still there. We won't spy on them. We might overhear some of their news. It's funny. I just realized that they're still there. Speaking of Neil Gaiman, he's going to be auctioning off a bunch of his original comic art. And I was showing this piece, I guess, that he owns by Mark Dringenberg, who was kind of I was about to say the big Sandman artist. It's hard to say that, though, with any real meaning. I mean, Sam Keith obviously really started, but then Dringenberg took over pretty early on. But anyway. So yeah, Gaiman's decided to sell a bunch of his original art that he owns through Heritage Auctions. Where else? The live auction is going to take place March 14th, and he's going to attend in person. Most of it, he says, is art that he has been just gifted over his career, as well as some of the stuff that he's bought. For instance, a Watchmen page that he bought. I know he also has like a Coraline doll from the stop motion movie. One of the highlights of the sale is a 1994 painting of the character Death, Sandman's sister, by Jean Giraud, Mobius. So there's some really amazing pieces in there. Some of the sales proceeds, by the way, this is why I thought it was still worth mentioning, even if we don't want to like sort of buy it. Some of the proceeds are going to go to the Hero Initiative. I think that they're a really good charity. They specifically help comic book professionals who are having trouble with bills for, either rent or medical bills, things like that. I think it's a good charity. I donate some dollars to them every year. It's a nice charity. He's selling a Watchmen original page. He didn't buy it. Alan gave it to him for helping out in research while the series was being made. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yes, it's if I check in on Dynamite, it's like Paranormal Activity. All of a sudden, something will just get moved invisibly. Oh, and if I think it's happening in Chicago, you can find out more details on the Heritage Auctions page for this. It's easy to Google. Jill Thompson is going to host a salon discussing the art in person March 6th. So there's obviously going to be limited availability for that, but you can basically go preview the art in person, and Jill Thompson will sort of have some opinions and history about it. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, the Mobius piece, I bet, will go for a lot because, you're not getting any more from a master like that. Yep. The Watchmen page is the Night Owl Dream Sequence. Exactly right. It's a good page. Well, they're all good pages. Some of it may be popular, maybe too popular. I don't know. I think it's some of Dave Gibbons' best artwork. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Oops, I did a weird thing there. Let's get that all up. So, also at that Comics Pro event this past week, Marvel has said that they're committing to a lower cover price. Let's talk about that. As a starting point, level setting, Marvel's May 2024 solicitations list about half of their 32-page books for $3.99 and half of them are $4.99. They've been obviously sort of creeping up in price. But at the event, Dan Buckley, the president of Marvel Entertainment, he stated that Marvel Comics will be emphasizing the $3.99 comic price point for most issues going forward. What's the reasoning for that? He told comic shop retailers at Comics Pro that it is Marvel's plan to be a partner with comic stores, not only now, but for the future. Some of the things that they were committing to, they've got the free Marvel must-haves editions, good jumping on point for new readers to understand some comics history. So they've got those free editions. They said that they're going to work reestablishing creator editorial retreats post-pandemic to create new stories. They're just trying to commit to telling good stories is what they're saying. Keeping special edition comics like the Red Band edition of Blood Hunt print only and not available digitally. That's an interesting move. That's basically they're going to have a version in a red poly bag that has extra violence. And they're not going to release that digitally. They also said to expect a lot of promotional opportunities for stores around the upcoming Deadpool Wolverine movie. And I guess actually this picture that I thought was going to be more clear and obvious for everybody is just sort of showing the $3.99 price point on a random issue. This is what the solicitation looks like in the magazines and websites that retailers look at. I hope it's true. $5 is a heck of a lot for basically 22 pages of story. It's a heck of a lot. Well, inflation has gone up a lot on comics. Inflation's gone up a lot. Oh yeah, I remember that. Drawing the line at $2.99. Yeah. Will the $4.99 comics keep that price, or will some come down? I believe the intent is to bring some down. They're not saying they're getting rid of $4.99 price point on some of these, just that they're going to do what they can to make as many, to make $3.99 more the default minimum, which would be nice. I hope they can. You remember when bread was a nickel and all this was Fields? Oh my goodness, you are old. Let's try to be hopeful. We'll see. We'll see. I would love that. It's a book I like reading. I would prefer to pay $1 less. Got a little bit more news here. So, some of this is kind of cool. Some of it's a little weird to talk about, but we know that, like, from last week, Marvel and DC are going to print a pair of omnibuses of their crossover stuff this August. This is going to be the new cover for their Amalgam omnibus, new artwork by Jim Lee, featuring a bunch of the characters from the Amalgam universe: Spider-Boy, Darkclaw, Thorion, Speed Demon, Super Soldier. What was this Storm Wonder Woman? Something Warrior. I can't quite remember. Doctor Strange Fate up here. Anyway, a lot of cool characters. A lot of cool characters. But they're not going to include 2 of the books. Oh, Lobo the Duck's down here. That's cool. So yeah, that's what I just said. At least 2 stories are not going to be republished in this. And I think that there's a good reason why not. It was just called Amazon. Thank you. So, the ones written by Gerard Jones, JLX, and also Magnetic Men, not going to be included. I don't know how many of you know why. Let me try to say this in things that won't have YouTube demonetize me. Gerard Jones was a pretty successful comic book writer. Things like Prime from Ultraverse, Hulk, Green Lantern, lots of big runs. You do not see any of that stuff reprinted now because Gerard Jones went to prison for having CP on his personal computer. I'm trying to put that in terms I think you guys can definitely understand what I'm talking about. Pretty nasty stuff. He actually is back out now. He's been released. But Marvel and DC have no interest in reprinting his work and giving him royalties if they can at all avoid it. Like, the less said, the better. It's really disturbing and depressing because this isn't just somebody you didn't know. Like, if you were reading comics into the 90s, Gerard Jones was definitely a big name that was writing a lot of comics. Yeah, exactly. Prime is very weird to look back at with that in mind. Very weird. But anyway, so is it too bad that it's not complete? It's yeah, but also you could probably, if you really want to read them, those back issues are probably not going for a fortune. And I think you can at least understand why these 2 companies are not too interested in reprinting that work. I mean, it's permanently tainted. It's permanently tainted. You can't get past that. Right. Yeah. He also wrote some books about comic book history. So the guy was really well known and respected while he was working. And then it was oh, crap. Gross. Bye, please. Goodbye, please. Yeah, I feel bad for the artist too. Can't get royalties on that if it's not being reprinted. Too bad. Too bad. But I just thought I'd mention that they announced that those 2 books were not in this. They didn't do a press release explaining why or anything. They just listed everything. And then people were like, wait a minute, there's a couple things missing here. So yeah, Amalgam is all one-shots. There's not really, it's all in a shared universe, but there isn't a deep continuity to any of it. So it's pretty easy to, they're all just one-shot stories that take place. It's not even origin stories. It takes place as though these characters have existed for several years. So it shouldn't affect your reading experience at all. If you get the omnibus and you've never read the Amalgam stuff before, it shouldn't affect you at all. No, that isn't the proper use. Good to see you, sister. Thank you for dropping in. I know it's later over on the East Coast. Marvel has decided to launch a new version of the Ultimates. Not a surprise if I don't know about you, but my comic shops sell out of all the Ultimate Comics stuff so far. So this is their new Avengers type book, again called the Ultimates, like the original Ultimate Universe, although this is a new Ultimate Universe. Little confusing. They're relying on the brand name Ultimate, but it is a little confusing because it does not really have any connection to the original Ultimate Universe of the early 2000s. This comes out June 5th. New team book, written by Dennis Camp, drawn by Juan Frigeri. The team, we can see most of them. We've got Captain America. He's pretty much the same. Thor and Sif. Iron Lad, that is Tony Stark, but in this continuity, his father, Howard Stark, was Iron Man before dying. So Tony Stark is calling himself Iron Lad, which, just for continuity buffs, Iron Lad is a version of Kang the Conqueror. So is Tony Stark in this destined to become Kang? Well, it's a possibility anyway. We've got Doctor Doom, who in this reality is Reed Richards. His evil counterpart from the original Ultimate Universe, who is now going by the name Maker, imprisoned him in this armor. And so, yeah, that's the new version. And obviously there's going to be some sort of version of Giant Man and Wasp, but we don't really know them yet. The Crossing. Someday I should talk about that. Like one of the worst Avengers stories ever. So bad. Oh yeah, this is very different, just to be clear. This new Ultimate Universe is totally different. And some of that I really, really like. I got to give it some more time to be sure of where it's going. But I like that they are doing very different things from both the Marvel continuity and the old Ultimates continuity. They're not simply updating the characters with like the same idea of the origin, but in today, they're doing a lot of changes to like sort of the overall world that this takes place in. So yeah. It's very sci-fi, but that's okay. We have not been introduced to an Ultimate Punisher yet. No. I'm sure someday we will. The writer, Dennis Camp, said about this, he goes, "Our Ultimates is an evolution, not just of the Avengers, but of the whole superhero team concept. From the grand and operatic to the small and personal, the Ultimates will feel like no Avengers or Ultimates comic ever before. That's our ambition anyway. Tune in to find out if we succeed." I like the humility at the end there. That's good. That's how I'd say something too. I'd go like, it's going to be amazing. Or at least that's the goal. Give me a sec to see if I can like live up to that. I like the humility. This will have very different ideas for the geopolitical world because it takes place in a world where the evil version of Reed Richards, Maker, created this universe, or really traveled through time to adjust this universe, and he put a bunch of super villains, we'll call them, in charge of like they're a secret cabal that rules the world. So there's basically like sort of an evil big brother that runs the world. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, Dennis, posting on CBR's forums. He got his break into professional comics by getting what was the award? It was like a new talent award on the Miller World forums. And of course, Mark Miller was one of the original architects of the original Ultimate Universe. So there's a nice bit of poetry there to everything. Yeah, Captain Britain in these comics is a bad guy, and he's French. There's some interesting stuff. Right. Iron Lad and Reed Richards have been basically framed in this universe to look like they killed a bunch of people, but it was actually secretly that cabal firing like a laser from space using like a Stark satellite or something like that. So yeah, it could be interesting. I know that's a little... It's very different is all I can say. It's very different from what you've read before, but it's starting on the ground floor. It's got some cool ideas. Yeah, teenage Tony Stark hasn't worked before, but maybe this time we'll see. It's a different version. I wanted to promote this because in a previous life, I had a podcast that I did for like 7 years about TV, genre TV. And I would often have a guest that I interviewed on, kind of like I do on this show. People like the people that made Game of Thrones or Doctor Who or Battlestar Galactica. These were the shows that were on back then. And I would have like actors and writers and stunt people and makeup artists, all sorts of interesting people. And I had Bear McCreary on a couple times. And that was towards earlier in his career. He was a really nice guy that's just a fantastic musician and composer. And he is combining some of his loves and interests to create an album and a comic and a concert. It's a whole experience called The Singularity. So, I just said all that. Sorry. On Wednesday, May 8th, Image Comics is going to release this graphic novel companion to the album. It's created by Bear McCreary, also Matt Groom, who's done a bunch of stuff in the Radiant Black universe. It's produced, in fact, by Black Market Narrative. It's got some names in here. A lot of them you'll note if you've read anything in the Radiant Black universe. A lot of these names can look familiar, like Eduardo Ferragato. Some of the things Bear McCreary has done music for that you probably have heard, even if you don't know the name. Battlestar Galactica was where he got his start. Rings of Power, that's a huge project. God of War Ragnarok, he's done a bunch of video game things. Walking Dead, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So I love his work. And he's done music with, he's collaborated with Angry Video Game Nerd a couple times. I believe he did the soundtrack to the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. Really nice guy. Clay just listed it too. Yeah. Love how the folks over at Black Market Narrative, Kyle Higgins production company, are really revolutionizing the medium of comics. They're doing a lot. I don't know Da Vinci's Demons, to be honest. That one's over my head. Sorry. But I like Bear a lot, and so I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Do I know the concept or anything? Not yet. No, I really don't. But I'm going to give it a shot because of the people involved. Bear was always really kind to me and interesting to talk to. So yeah. Have you experiences from podcasts and YouTube? Oh, have my experiences from podcasts and YouTube helped with your car selling skills? Not necessarily. I would say more what helped was, I got a degree in college. I got like my Bachelor of Science in Management. I went to business school, and you learn selling stuff there and how to speak in public. I would say that those skills helped me more. But, podcasting and YouTube just helped me be more confident. Like, I don't like the sound of my own voice, but I've learned that if I speak with confidence, it resonates well with people. So, yeah. Yeah, that's true. He did do work on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's done tons of stuff. Hello. Anyway, wanted to put it on people's radar for May. And then to go with it, there's going to be an album and a live concert. Let me talk about something that made me sad. I considered putting this towards the top of the news, but I didn't want to start on too much of a downer with the news. But let's try to make this somewhat of a positive, because there's a lot of wonderful things to say about artist Ramona Fradon. And I think I'm going to switch things up. I've been working on an episode about Ramona for a long time, and I just keep dickering around with how I want to write the script. And then she passed away this past week, and I was like, maybe I should give it some time to breathe. But instead, I think I may switch it up and focus on wrapping that idea up, because she's an artist that I really admire in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. Let me tell you who she was. Golden Age legend, I'm going to call her, because she did get started in the Golden Age. She passed away Saturday at age 97. Pretty amazing life. 97. We should all be so lucky, right? She began drawing for DC Comics, got started pretty high level back in 1950. 1950 sounds, like later on than when Batman and Superman were being created. But when you consider that it was really the early 60s was what we consider the Silver Age, 1950 means that she definitely got her start in the Golden Age of comics. And she was still working professionally here and there up through last year. For instance, this was a cover she did just last year, folks, at age 97. She's still doing commissions up until a few months ago. I was on her commission list. I never quite got one. I was just too deep on the list, I guess. Some of the things she'll always be remembered for: co-creating characters like Aqualad and Metamorpho. Those characters are sure to outlive her, and whenever people look it up, they will see that that was the artist who came up with them, among others. She's well known in comics for runs on Aquaman, Super Friends, and the Brenda Starr comic strip, because she did do that from 1980 through 1995. 95 was when she officially decided to retire, but she did keep busy doing the occasional cover, lots of commissions. Yep, that's why I put Metamorpho in the thumbnail. I wanted to talk about Ramona Fradon. She went with her boots on. That's the comics version of died on the stage. Larry Hama is a writer I've talked about a lot, and he got his start in comics apprenticing for Wallace Wood. And apparently Mr. Wood told Larry, he's like, guys like us, we die at the drafting table. And it's almost that for Ramona. While she officially retired in 95, she kept her hand in the game, like doing some professional work every year until she passed, which is just amazing. Just amazing. Oh, cool. You have the Metamorpho Batman Silver Age crossover issue. Metamorpho is cool. And if you guys ever want to hear the catchiest, weirdest 60s song, there is a song for Metamorpho. Metamorpho, Metamorpho. It's very catchy. I don't want to get claimed, so I won't play it. Thank you for the super chat. Da Vinci's Demons was a show on Stars a decade ago, like Indiana Jones style, but about Da Vinci. Underrated classic, in my opinion. Scored by Bear. That's very cool. I'm pretty sure that Marie Severin and Ramona Fradon did a collaboration too. That's just eluding my mind right now. I think I can't remember now. But yes, she was. I think you need to call her a pioneer. There were certainly plenty of female creators, artists in the Golden Age, but Ramona is among the smaller group of those women from early on. And I said that she started in 1950. She got an Inkpot Award in 1955. So, she was definitely respected very quickly, I think. But there's a lot I can say about her. I'm going to make a whole episode about her career on Comic Tropes. I just wanted to, for now, just sort of like honor her passing. Great creator. And by the way, there is a huge art book that Dynamite produced about Ramona Fradon's career, with a huge interview throughout by Howard Chaykin with Ramona. Really cool. Really cool. And I'll be honest, now that I say that, there are not many Golden Age creators left anymore that are alive. I don't think there's any that are still working. I know Stan Lee's brother, Larry Lieber, is still alive. I'm a little stumped off the top of my head who else that would have worked in what was classified as the Golden Age. I'm a little stumped as to who else is still alive. I can't think of any that are working. Okay, Jules Pfeiffer, thank you. That's appreciated. Yeah, that's a stumper. I'd have to really do some research because it's not off the top of my head. It is not something I got off the top of my dome to pull from. Ramona Fradon's one of the last ones. And Yeah, that's just, it's weird to me because I grew up, you know, I'm old enough that when I went to Comic Cons, there would still be guys like, say, I don't know, Joe Kubert or Martin Nodell, the creator of the original Green Lantern, people like that. There would always be some of those golden age pros there at Artist Alley, and that's just not a thing if we go to comic conventions anymore. The most we're likely to get would be Silver Age luminaries at this point. Last piece of news I have is that Robert Kirkman has implied that there will not be a Spider-Man crossover on the Invincible show. Some people thought that there could be. Fans have wondered if the Invincible animated series would have this adaptation of the Spider-Man crossover that happened in the comics. Very cool that this happened. You know, this was Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker doing this, the creators of Invincible. I love Cory's artwork. And yeah, a lot of people thought that there was a chance that the animated show could do this, but Robert seems to be implying strongly that it won't happen. The reasons why people thought it could. Well, this season has a multiverse traveling villain, Angstrom Levy. The show announced that voice actor Josh Keaton will appear on the show, and he's famously the voice of Spider-Man from the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. So people were sort of like putting this behind the scenes info together, going like, well, maybe, maybe they'll actually adapt this. But this week, Robert was on an IGN interview, and this is part of what he said. He said, would that we could pull the powers of Amazon and Disney and Marvel and everybody together. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing? But I wouldn't count on it, and that's not a tease. Yeah. If they did it, you're right that it would be a secret. You're right. If it was real, of course it would be a secret. He's like, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? But I wouldn't count on it, and that's not a tease. That's exactly what he sounds like. I don't think it's likely to happen. I feel like there's just too many corporate interests that would be involved to get approvals. It would be awesome. I just don't know. Thank you, Steve. Bring in human spider guy. That's your name? That's terrible. The Amazing Spider-Man. Thank you, Bruce Campbell. Peak Kirkman impression. Thank you. I think so too. I'm a little biased though. Let's talk about some of the comics that came out this week, right? An Invincible and comic tropes crossover. I don't know what that would be, but sure. Sounds good to me. Let's see. Extra camera. Kirkman could pull a Wiseman and have Keaton play a spider character like Wiseman did in Young Justice. Yeah, he could. Bring me the tick in anything. Barney Fife? This is Robert Kirkman. I don't know. The non-copyright violation man. Look, there was a lot of comics that came out this week that I picked up, so I got to go sort of give you my high-level opinions kind of quick. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. But I've been enjoying this. I said it earlier. Look, first of all, a cover by Dave Johnson is always something that will catch my eye. It is. This is no excuse. But yeah, Garth Ennis writing James Bond works pretty well for two reasons. A, he's good at writing a cynical James Bond. And B, there's all sorts of badass action, like just cover to cover. There's going to be a lot of action stuff. Like, for instance, okay, I was about to say Punisher. James Bond has grabbed like an assassin with a bulletproof jacket to protect himself. And, his fellow compatriots are like, shooting at Bond, and they're shooting this guy. And this is how cynical Bond is. He goes, "Good God, are you still alive?" And, that is kind of a good take on Bond, whether it's the books or the movies. Bond is a little quippy, but he's like proper, I don't know. I like it. It's got a sci-fi type mystery here where the Russians and the British and the Americans are all after this technology that results in sort of like an explosion of frozen water that will like kill people, and then it melts, it goes away, and you're left with like no radiation, no devastation from like a bomb. So that's the sci-fi killer, is like this sort of like freezing death where you can attack people. And Bond's just tracking it down, doing his thing. He's going to do some globe trotting. Oh, in fact, how globe trotting? Well, this one ends with Bond. In order to get a hold of the scientist that works on it, he gets authorization to go on a rocket to the International Space Station, because that's where one of the scientists that worked on it is working. He's sort of out of jurisdiction. I can't wait to see what kind of crazy action sequences they can get up to on the International Space Station. Yeah, they're not doing they're not really basing his look off of any specific movie actor. This is definitely going back to the descriptions from the books. But that doesn't make him unlike Connery, Dalton, etc. Let's see. Thank you, Steve. Gotta be one of the good guys, son, because there's way too many of the bad. Preacher number 9. Garth Ennis. 2 panels that will always stick with me. I agree. Pretty emotional. That one sticks with me. Bond doesn't fight Jaws and meet a woman named Goodhead. Holly Goodhead. Yes, Moonraker. Moonraker has a badass opening credits action sequence, by the way, where Bond gets pushed out of an airplane without a parachute, and he has to like figure out a way to survive. That's a pretty exciting, dramatic action sequence. And the fact that everything back then was done with stuntmen, like no digital trickery. I love that opening sequence. I just realized I can take off my headphones now that I'm not talking to Nick. Sorry, I just added on without thinking. Bond here looks like a young Josh Brolin. Oh yeah, okay. Moving on. A bunch of people recommended to me that I should read The Displaced by the team of Ed Brisson and artist Luca Casalanguida. This is a good sci-fi, scary premise. Displaced, the Displaced, okay? What happens in this? A bunch of regular people with like, their daily lives it's interrupted when they hear sort of an earthquake type sound. And what happens? The town that they were in of 200,000 sort of vanishes into a sinkhole. And the government, investigates and stuff, but people move on and start forgetting almost right away, only to find out that a couple days later, the area is back. The area is back, but it doesn't have the same name. And this old man that seems to just understand what's going on, but nobody believes him because, they think he's a crazy. He says that the town of Oshawa, Canada, never existed. But obviously a town is there. What happened to those 200,000 people? People seem to have completely forgotten who they are. So is this something supernatural? Is this sci-fi? I don't know, but it's a really scary premise of like all of a sudden losing an entire city, your friends, your family, your job, your places that you go to for fun, gone. And then all of a sudden it's back and nobody else seems to remember. Weird. It's good. It's really interesting. Oshawa, Ontario. My longest partner is from there. Yeah. It's a terrifying premise. Oh, sorry. Oshawa. Oshawa is the pronunciation. Sorry, haven't been there. Did not know that. It was taken by Brainiac. Exactly. It's been turned into a miniature city, a miniature bottled city. Thank you, EJ, for setting me straight. Did you buy trades or? Oh, me? Do I buy trades or keep the floppies? I typically do get floppies these days so that I can sort of talk about it on my show weekly. For reading purposes, I definitely prefer either trades or digital so that I have less stuff in the house. The Holy Roller. It's issue 4. And finally now, the hero is in a superhero suit and he has gimmick trick bowling balls. For instance, he throws a bowling ball and this racist guy catches it and he's like, I caught it, but then like little blades jump out of it. Reminds me a little of the orbs in, what was that horror movie franchise with the tall man? All of a sudden I'm blanking, but some of you know what I'm talking about. The Tall Man. Weird sci-fi horror movie. It's funny. This is just a guy who's come back to his hometown and is taking out the racist trash that's in this issue, going after, black people, gay guys, Jewish people. He's Jewish. It's fun. It's fun. But you know what? Why wouldn't it be? Rick Remender, we know, can be funny. Andy Samberg's a co-writer. Great art by Roland Boschi. There's a lot to like about this if you haven't read it. I like the design. I'll say that. I like the design of this character. It's not in a world where like superheroes exist. But thanks everybody. Phantasm. Thank you. Thank you. There is a superhero bowler book. Yeah. Rick Remender, Andy Samberg, and Fallout Boy's Joe Troman team up to write this. Art by Roland Boschi and Moreno Dionisio. It's only up to issue 4, so if you want to see a bowling themed superhero just use bowling balls to take out racists, this is the book for you. And unlike, say a Marvel or DC book, if they get hit with a bowling ball, it is ugly. It is ugly. I mean, this thing pulps people. We've got a lot of people with dislocated jaws, eyes getting popped out of a skull, that really nasty things happen, but it's obviously done with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, which helps make the satire more palatable because it's definitely talking about the ills of small town America that's falling apart to a degree. I think that Andy could definitely play the lead. He's definitely a fairly built character in this, but Andy could play him. Issue 24 of Batman Superman World's Finest does have Dan Mora on art. It has Mark Waid writing and revisiting one of Mark Waid's most famous stories, Kingdom Come. This essentially is an untold prequel about the character Magog, who was, you may remember him from, if you've read Kingdom Come, this guy, who sort of represented the new, at the time, 90s grim and gritty superhero that was paving a new way. And Superman is wondering, does the world really have need for him anymore? But this explains who that character is and where he's from, and has him make a fateful decision that pushes him past what Batman and Superman would have recommended it takes to be a superhero. So it really is it's an interesting way to revisit Kingdom Come, give us a little more context there, but also tell a story from the ground floor where you don't actually have to have read Kingdom Come yet, because this all happens before that. This is a superpowered character who has an origin that is very close to both Batman and Superman's. And as a young child, Batman and Superman tried to mold him to become a new hero. but he was pulled into another dimension. We now know that the dimension he grew up in was the Kingdom Come universe. And he makes, a life and death decision in this that Batman and Superman argue they would not have. But there's still sort of a path to redemption, which is really beautiful, actually, in its own way. It's not a very cynical story. Most stories by Mark Waid, I would say, are not very cynical. Even when they get really dark, there's an element of hopefulness there that you can latch on to. So it's got some classic superhero stuff. Dan Mora, man, one of the best DC has doing superhero books right now. Really, really good. And what I like is that, like, along with the colorist, there's definitely instances where it's trying to be evocative of what Alex Ross did, even though Dan Mora illustrates in a very different style than the painted work of Alex Ross. Like, they revisit some classic moments like this. And I think it does a good job of being reminiscent, but being something different. Wow, thank you, Larry. Have you seen the recent rumors that Superman Legacy might feature the Kingdom Come S logo, but in yellow and red? I did see that. Yeah, if they want to do something, different with the logo, just be like, at this point, Superman has appeared in live action across a lot of different movies and TV shows. So if they want to give it a slightly different look, I'm fine with that. Oh, that's interesting. Sold out from 3 different shops. It's really good. I really like it. Hello from the Philippines. Wow. Hello from America. Well, you say if there was a way to get them to do all the books. Again, they are doing that Absolute Power series for DC this summer. That makes me a little more interested than your typical crossover event, which typically leaves me a little cold. Seems to just sort of be a time killer in some ways. But yeah. Let's see who did the coloring in this, because they add to it. Oh, it's Tamara Bonvillain. Tamara is adding a lot to this, so let's give her credit there. Moving on, issue 2 of Animal Pound finally came out through Boom Studios. Now, this is written by Tom King, art by Peter Gross, same colorist, we'll say here, and it's a modern update on Animal Farm. George Orwell's book is in the public domain. What this does is it's set at a animal shelter. And so this issue has a lot of political debate between rabbits, cats, and dogs. Because how do you decide on a government here? The dogs obviously have the most power. The rabbits don't really add anything. They're not necessarily that useful. There's more cats than anybody else. But, if they're going to elect a leader, all the cats are going to vote for cats. All the rabbits are going to vote for rabbits. All the dogs are going to vote for dogs, because they each have different interests, okay? And so there's a lot of talking about how can we make a society that's equal. That's a tough call, So there's a lot of debate between Madame Fifi the cat and Titan the Doberman. And eventually, and by the way, what makes this more urgent is, of course, they're slowly running out of food. They need to figure out a way to make food, to make money and to make food. Make money to buy food. Excuse me. The art, look at that. Like, very realistic, and yet you can see that, like, the characters have some emotion to them, right? That's a fine line between making it cartoony and being so realistic that the characters aren't really displaying any emotion. A lot of it, Peter Gross is doing by positioning the characters and playing with the shadows and stuff, as compared to cheating on things like lips and eyes. Look, this is not a fun, happy story. If you've read Animal Farm, it is a depressing story. It's warning about the dangers of fascism. that can be inherent in any government. There's some serious stuff going on here, but there's also like so far for issue 2, it's sort of still building up this equal, nice society where they can all work together, and that's a big positive. You know, we have to care about what we might lose, and first of all, they're building this society that seems like it could work. You know, seems like it could work, and they could like all sort of take care of each other and be fair. I also love this end where Mitten the kitten explains how they could potentially make some money using cameras, live cams. He's like, we could be cute. We could get donations. There's some interesting ideas here. So it's modern. Still some interesting political stuff, but look, it's probably gonna get sad because it's probably all gonna fall apart, and that is gonna be hard to take when we see pets, not just animals, but pets. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I do like it though. I flew through the story. The characters are well defined. Fifi and Titan are both really well defined characters. Really well defined characters. I'm scared of what's down the line. Yes. Sentient cats would make bank as social media influencers. Comic is totally unrealistic. Well, might be going that way though. So I don't know. We 3 is the best comic ever. We 3 is heartbreaking, but yes, it's very, very good. Where's the bill? Bill? Bill of Rights? Is that what you're talking about? I agree. Orwell's books like 1984 and Animal Farm are not fun reads, but I think that they are important reads. I really do. Oh yeah, Beasts of Burden is a great animal comic. I mean, it's cats and dogs, mostly dogs, solving supernatural cases. That's great, and it looks realistic. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I like feeling a range of different emotions, so I like all kinds of comics, books, music, and movies because sometimes, yes, they can make me feel sad, for instance, but it's also within my control, right? Like I can finish a movie or put down a story, and so like yeah, the bull from Animal Farm. It's been years since I actually read Animal Farm, so who was the bull? I remember a horse, or was it a donkey? I can't remember now. Oh, I never read the comic adaptation of Watership Down, but that's a book I love. That's a great one. I mean, that's Homer's Odyssey, isn't it? But just done with rabbits, which is pretty amazing. I find it odd. I've never read 1984, considering that's the year I was born. You'd think the connection would have been interesting enough by now. Boxer. Yeah, maybe the bull is the boxer in this. I can't quite remember. Oh, maybe you're thinking of Ferdinand. I don't think we've really. I don't think I know for sure who's the exact analogous character. Boxer was the horse, right? I don't know necessarily who's going to be Boxer in this. It's an interesting question. I intentionally have not necessarily gone back to refresh my full memory on Animal Farm, which makes it, yes, my critiques could be a little off base if I'm remembering wrong. I'll admit that, but also will allow me to be hopefully a little bit surprised as I reread a new version of the story. Does that make sense why I'm doing it that way? Anyway. Oh, by the way, under here, if Jim is still here, these are my notes for episode 2 with like the comic that movie that we reviewed. Look, what can I say about G.I. Joe that I haven't already told you? 304, it's only 4 issues into like, the Skybound run. It's the same continuity that Larry Hama wrote from Marvel through IDW and now at Skybound. But in a lot of ways, he is level setting all the characters and the situation ever since issue 301, which started at Skybound, for what it's worth. Yeah. Have you seen the trailer for the new G.I. Joe game? I have not. I don't know where they found Chris Moneyham, but he really is a good fit for this book. It's realistic, but it's still got like personality, you know? There's a lot, look, this is a lot of nostalgia bait for me at this point. Yes, there's newer characters like Don Moreno or new versions of old characters like Serpentor Khan, but it also has just characters that I have liked from the past. You know, I'm going to see a Night Creeper. I'm going to see Dr. Mindbender. I'm going to see Spirit. I'm going to see Duke. This is a new look for Cobra Commander, though, in the comic. Anybody who's a fan of G.I. Joe knows that Hasbro has definitely not released a version of Cobra Commander with his hood. The original toy of Cobra Commander had the famous metal reflective mask, but within like about a year, they released a version where he just wears a hood, a blue hood. That said, a lot of people will say, hey, that really looks a lot like, say, the KKK. It looks pretty realistic. And there is supposed to be a distance from how realistic G.I. Joe gets. You know, it's allowed to be sci-fi. So they have, I don't think Hasbro wants to make any new toy versions with the hood anymore. And that's fine. Now Cobra Commander, when he's not wearing his battle helmet, wears apparently more of a ski mask. And like this sort of, you know, I will say, like kind of SS reminiscent general's suit, something like that. I'm okay with it, though, because if there's anything that's been consistent about G.I. Joe is they get new looks because they re-release characters in new versions. And sometimes that's a little bit of an upgrade or like an update where like Roadblocks version 2 was also very cool. But sometimes they gave us characters in weird battle armor and neon suits and giraffe pants or fishing hats. And you were just like, what happened to this character? So I'm always okay with new looks in G.I. Joe. They've never really been that stagnant. And I like this okay. But some people may feel different. They may miss the hood. I'm just saying it's worth talking about. I don't think it's a spoiler per se about the story. It's just a slightly different look. Storyline wise, there are a lot of factions in this, though. This is not simply G.I. Joe versus Cobra the enemy. Cobra Commander runs almost all of Cobra and is setting himself up to specifically defend against an invasion in the town of Springfield, USA. They've always sort of like secretly had a town within America. Serpentor Khan and Dr. Mindbender and a bunch of troops on Cobra Island have been turned into intelligent zombies. And so they plan to conquer America to have good eats. And they've teamed up to that extent with Revanche, which is an AI that has lots of robots, including ninja robots. G.I. Joe has to worry about all three of those factions. And then outside of that, we've got former Cobra key personnel that have like sort of left Cobra, but is still a threat. Destro, Baroness, Zartan. Somewhere out there, you know, there's people like Major Blood and Firefly and all of them. It's cool. It's cool. You like the new look for Coco. Good. Three-sided war, exactly. And it's all been building up. If you read G.I. Joe, it doesn't read in simple like 5 and 6 issue written for the trade volumes. It's just there's always a bunch of subplots going, and eventually Larry just starts having one of them pay off with huge epic battles, and it really sort of feels sometimes like you're mashing all your toys together in a fun way. I was able to get issue 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man, so thank you to Ashley at Atomic Comics because it was sold out and she had already read her copy, so she sold me hers. Very kind of you. I appreciate it because I do want to stay up to date. Written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Marco Cicchetto. This is our first time getting to see this Peter Parker with his spider powers. The last issue just set up the characters. It's a very different world. I'm not going to recap it all for you. That's not fun. But this is a version where he's happily married to Mary Jane. He has 2 kids, and into that world, as a not a messed up guy who's always missing his appointments. He's got a job at the Daily Bugle. He now has the powers of Spider-Man, and he's getting used to them. Oh, and the first villain he goes up against is a pretty good villain. Shocker. I like this take on Shocker. His outfit has some of the elements of the classic Shocker, but also like a bomb suit, a bomb disposalist, And I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. He'd need to be properly insulated from, his electroshock vibration powers. And Peter is very naive in this, and like thinks he's talked Shocker out of breaking into a building and is about to like shake his hand. He's a little naive, but I think we can forgive that. So anyway, but look at how good the art is, folks. Like that's a good superhero exciting action scene, right? I mean, what's not to like about that? We also are introduced to Kingpin in this, and we mentioned earlier that in the Ultimates universe, one of the leading sort of villains that controls the world is Captain Britain, a French Captain Britain, by the way. Kingpin reports to him, and I'm sure Kingpin has ambitions beyond that. We also get a glimpse of the new version of Green Goblin, which we don't really know much about. But Green Goblin is targeting Kingpin. And I'm sure Spider-Man will get involved in that. And there's all sorts of good subplots with Spidey, with Peter's family and stuff. It looks great. I'll say that. It looks great. Will I ultimately care for this Spider-Man? Is he going to feel the same responsibilities that a younger guy does? I don't know. Yeah, I really like how they draw MJ too. She's a mom and she's got a job and stuff, but I think that she looks sort of like, both Peter and MJ look like, good looking, maybe late 30s somethings. I like it. I wouldn't call Kingpin skinny. He seems to be a little thinner, but again, this is a completely new version of these characters, so it doesn't have to be like anything we've seen before. Would it be my like recommendation of the week? No, I'd probably put things like Animal Pound and World's Finest above this. Actually, I'd say that like, but it looks great, and I'm at least interested enough in seeing where this world goes. This is some longer form storytelling than you might get in an issue of the week adventure. Okay, so you gotta have to be a little patient. Sometimes that's hard when you're paying $4.99 and getting like 22 pages of story, and then you got to wait another 30 days. That is a little tough. That is a little tough, but it is what it is. Ramita Senior Spider-Man is fantastic, just fantastic. The way they drew MJ reminds me of my wife, so I like it a lot. That's sweet. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I bet that there are some twists coming. I was inclined to like this issue of Incredible Hulk for several reasons. Let me lay it out. I've already told you guys on this show, I enjoy this run because it's Hulk being chased by all sorts of supernatural monsters. I'm in. Hulk versus monsters, good, simple concept. And then like give me, subplots about who's behind all this. Cool. Good characters, good premise. I'm in. I know I'm going to get to see Hulk fight a monster every week. You can take as much time as you want to tell me the reasons for that. That because I like the premise. This is a guest issue illustrated by Danny Earls. Now, Danny has been very nice to me. You guys, I don't have it here now. He sent me an original piece of art. Not bribery. We've met in person. He's really nice. We've talked. Danny's great. He's an up and coming artist, but I like his art, and I've talked about it, and I think that's why he sent me a piece, because I've had some nice things to say about it. Third and final reason I was inclined to like this. This issue is set in New Orleans. I lived in New Orleans. I always have an affection for stories that are told there. New Orleans is really unlike other places. Yeah, there's some monsters like doing weird things, cutting people to ribbons in this. But New Orleans is a little like grimy and weird, and it has some great food, and it has some fascinating history and dark history, and supernatural stuff down there. And it has a scene in the City of the Dead. It explains what's cool about New Orleans. New Orleans is at sea level. It's all flat. There is like next to no elevation in New Orleans. It's very flat, and it can flood. The river is literally, the Mississippi River is a little higher than most of New Orleans, almost all of New Orleans. So it's held back by a levee. What it means is that New Orleans has had to create their graveyards with above ground tombs, because when they used to try to bury the dead, it would flood when it rained and the bodies would start popping up out of the ground. And yeah, you've got like dead bodies around there. That is a legit problem that New Orleans had as it was being built and founded. It's crazy. What it effectively means is that you have these hundreds of years old now, tombs that are all above ground, and it's just unlike anywhere else. It's all above ground. It's really cool. So it's set in a cool place. You've got like lots of cool body horror. You've got like the music and the nightlife and the drinking and the weirdos and the supernatural, and it just all combines to an issue that I really enjoyed. So this is the story will continue. I believe Danny did a 3-issue arc, and this is the first. Great cover, by the way, by Nick Klein. I will say that, like the way he drew this old lady with all these sort of tortured, ghoulish ghosts in the shadows. I love that. I think it looks great. I think it's great. Yes, plus beignets. New Orleans just has a lot to recommend for it. I look back on those years very fondly, very fondly. I'll do 2 more, and I'm going to try to be kind of quick because this is a longer episode than usual. Issue 2 of Cobra Commander. Completely separate continuity from the G.I. Joe book that I talked about. That G.I. Joe continuity has been going since 1982? I think 1982. This is set in the Energon universe. It's a mini-series focusing on a very different version of Cobra Commander. A Cobra Commander who is tracking down an energy source, and he comes across several of the dreadnoks, who in the comics are just biker mercenaries that work for Cobra Commander, but he hasn't really formed Cobra the terrorist organization yet. So yeah, they don't really expect this guy, like when they come across him, to just start shooting at them. But this is a merciless, ruthless Cobra Commander. And he has a mysterious bodyguard that we don't know yet. I strongly suspect he's Nemesis Enforcer from Cobra Law. I like this part where, okay, so Cobra Commander is sneaking around in the Florida Everglades, and a what do you call it? What are the people that guard our national parks? Park rangers? Yeah, like a park ranger comes across them. Cobra Commander's bodyguard, who I think is Nemesis Enforcer, grabs his arms and headbutts him, and it pulps the guy's head. This is a bloody, horror take on Cobra Commander. It's really cool. It's cool to follow these villains who are just awful. But I'm pretty sure that he's tracking down Energon, which he will use to power the remains of Megatron, which he has in his possession. We get to meet Ripper, Buzzer, and Zarana. No Torch, no Zartan, no other famous Dreadnoks, although they do have the Thunder Machine, which in the toys and in the cartoon, the Thunder Machine was driven by, hold on, not Monkey Wrench. He was introduced the same year. Who drove the Thunder Machine? Because it looks awesome here, by the way. I can't remember. Right. There's like 500 G.I. Joe action figures out there, and at one point I could definitely list them all, and I'm having the hardest time right now trying to remember. Thrasher. Obviously, Rob Irizarry would know. Rob is a G.I. Joe expert. He does a G.I. Joe show here on YouTube. Rob knows his. Thank you. Thrasher. It just wasn't coming to me. I love the Dreadnoks. You had the Thunder Machine? I didn't have it. Yes, I love A Confederacy of Dunces. It is a hilarious novel set in New Orleans. And that reminds me, there's also a book called Managing Ignatius, nonfiction book about a well-educated guy who ended up running a bunch of the hot dog food carts down in New Orleans, which had very transient employment, we will say. Lots of weirdos would come to run those food stands and not last long. And so the title of the book is Managing Ignatius, as in managing a real weirdo. Ignatius is the main character in the hilarious book, A Confederacy of Dunces. Definitely recommend both. Dreadnoks are awesome. Thrasher, yep. Oh, I meant to type they had the Thunder Machine because Cobra Commander, they had, right. Cobra Commander does blow up the Thunder Machine in this. But anyway, it's fun. I like the Energon universe. They are creating, look, not everybody's going to like it because Transformers is a big part of it. And maybe you just want to read G.I. Joe unconnected to that. I get it. I think it's working, though. I think that they've put in some really good planning and they're building up to some interesting connections with this stuff. I'm enjoying it. You have a statue of Ignatius in the city? I didn't know that. Yes, exactly. The Dreadnoks are traditionally cartoonish. However, keep in mind, Buzzer has always had a chainsaw attachment on his weapon. And in this, he absolutely uses it on someone. Not that we see the gory details per se. We're seeing like the effects of it, though. So this is kind of hardcore. I like it. Now, one of the best superhero comics out there, in my opinion, maybe it's not for everybody, but it's this version of Wonder Woman. I am enjoying the heck out of it. Art by Daniel Sampere, writing by Tom King. This one has Wonder Woman going up against 7 supervillains. 7 supervillains. Let me also mention this. These supervillains, characters like Giganta, Cersei, Angleman, Dr. Psycho, Sergeant Steel, Silver Swan. Wait a minute. Nick, do you know that you're like we're not showing you, but did you know that you're still broadcasting there? It's okay. Nobody else can see you. I'm just still doing my show, and I just saw that you're still moving the camera around. We can, yeah, there he goes. That's so funny. He was moving his computer and stuff. What a great guy. I think that this is a joke that Tom King did. Okay. 7 7 villains. And they all work for a guy called the Sovereign. Well, that would make them the Sovereign 7, right? Sovereigns 7. You weren't on camera or anything, Nick. I was just letting you know your camera was still going. What does that mean? You may remember, maybe you don't. Chris Claremont did do a book through DC that he actually owned the characters to. It was called Sovereigns 7. And Tom King, is my understanding, he broke in working for Chris Claremont. I'm pretty sure. So he may have created this elaborate joke to have the Sovereign 7 as Wonder Woman's villains. They are not called the Sovereign 7, but I believe that had to be intentional, because there's a villain called the Sovereign, and let me add them up. I'm just double checking. Okay. Silver Swan, Dr. Psycho, Angleman, Giganta, Cersei, Sergeant Steel, and Grail, Darkseid's daughter. Yeah, 7 villains. 7 villains. So it's a great action scene, though, folks. By the way, Wonder Woman, or in her identity as Diana Prince, she literally twirls here, becoming Wonder Woman. That's definitely a reference to the old 1970s live action show with Linda Carter. That's fun. I also just like that they had Giganta hiding underground, to like already at full already at full height. She didn't just grow and like there was an element of surprise here where she just grabs at Wonder Woman. She literally they're all working in concert, and Giganta breaks the Washington National Monument and brings it down on Wonder Woman's head. That's an exciting action sequence. It looks fantastic. Daniel Sampere makes this look so good. And it builds up to a knockdown, drag out fist fight between Grail and Wonder Woman, who are evenly matched. They are basically both gods. Some great scenes within this, just featuring them just smashing at each other. But it's built up to this. And there's always a bit of a palate cleanser on this book, because after we read the main Wonder Woman story, they always give us a backup story featuring Wonder Woman's future daughter, Trinity, always being babysat by Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent. It like takes place in between adventures and stuff, and they just are like basically like her older brothers, essentially, always trying to babysit for this girl that has boundless energy. She won't go to bed in this one. She just won't go to bed, and they literally take her to the moon to try to tire her out. Great artwork by Balin Ortega. Really cute, charming stuff, and it works so well as a palate cleanser after you read a more serious issue of action and intrigue and stuff like that. Yeah, the backups are really cool. I remember the Sovereign 7 had Darkseid sipping a cappuccino like he needs the caffeine. I would read it as a series. I would read Trinity being babysat by Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent. It works really well, guys. Like I say, interesting story, gives you some classic superhero stuff, does have a great new villain that seems to be a challenge for Wonder Woman, because he's not underestimating her. He's having trouble beating her, but he's not underestimating her. And the backups are just kind of light and funny and add some context to Wonder Woman. I don't think he's being wasted. I think this is a really good book. But look, I tend to like a lot of what Tom King does. I haven't loved everything, but I am enjoying right now Wonder Woman and Animal Pound. I am enjoying those. So, if people have different opinions, fine. All I can do is share mine. I can't sort of bring together everybody's opinion and say it's 65% good on Rotten Tomatoes. I can only recommend what I like. Yeah. For instance, I like Chip Zdarsky as a writer quite a bit. I'm really not feeling his Batman run, which is part of why I didn't review it this week. I just didn't have anything interesting to say at all. I just didn't. It's been a longer show than usual. We're coming up on almost 3 hours. Thank you everybody for staying this long, because we've got more people now than we did in the first 10 minutes. Hopefully it does well once this is archived. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. We're allowed to disagree. We're allowed to disagree. Thank you for being polite about it. I'm just saying what I like. All I can do is give my personal recommendations. If you guys start disagreeing with everything, you go, I'm going to stop listening to that guy. If you could be so kind as to hit like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. I just thought of something I'll share with you. For anybody that stayed late, I have one thing that I will share with you. Give me a moment to open up a window. I'm going to show you something, just a hint, a tease at what you can get if you want to support this channel more. You can go to patreon.com/comic tropes. And here is what an example of what you will sometimes see. There's not a lot of extra stuff, but every once in a while, you'll see something like this. That is a page from a pitch that I once had that fell apart because the artist just sort of vanished. Just couldn't keep a hold of him. And there's several pages of that that if you were on Patreon, you'd get to see something like that, a behind the scenes thing. Patreon.com/comic tropes. If you're in a position, even $1 really helps me, because that is basically how I earn my living these days. Maybe you're in a position to do that. Maybe not. Maybe it's worth it to you. Maybe not. I don't always have lots of extras. But if you enjoy what you're already getting, maybe you'll consider going there. So this was sponsored by me. That is my ad. And that made what? That made a couple. No, I was about to say it made 2 or 3 people leave, but actually I think that the viewer count just went up. So maybe I should do more ads. Yes, I'm happy to do it, Rob. Rob does a weekly show called What's on Joe Mind, and that's here on YouTube. So if you really like G.I. Joe, that is specifically what they discuss. The toys, sometimes the comics or the cartoon, other people in that community. Really nice community. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But anyway, even if you're not in a position to, say, support something like that financially, if you could hit like and subscribe on this channel or Comic Tropes, that also really helps a lot, honestly, because it makes YouTube go, okay, I'll spread this to some new people, and maybe those people will continue to watch some ads or something. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to take off. I'm going to both have some dinner with my wife, and I might take advantage of our restroom facilities because I've been going for a while. No, I am still doing that. I just am trying to do more of this than that, if that makes sense. But that's up to how much I entertain people. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Keep reading comics. Bye.